Give you what you love. It's time to give you what you love. I'ma give you what you love. Give you what you love.
Well, good afternoon. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on wordradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and I am your host on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 1 to 4 p.m. Listen, before I could even barely get on the air, and I have to tell you, just absorbing the news over the last week, 6 days, has been interesting to say the least. So much so that I had to take a nap before I came on the air today. What's going on in the back of my head? These wigs, I'm trying to tell you. This is why I don't wear wigs. But this one's already working my last nerve. I just wanted to share this with you. Hold on one second because it just came in. And I just wanted you to all hear. What am I doing, Jesus? Let me share this with you. This just in from NBC News by Anna Schechter. Pay attention and hold on to yourselves. Right-wing extremists are using encrypted channels to call for violence against government officials on January 20th, the day President-elect Joe Biden is inaugurated, with some extremists sharing knowledge of how to make, conceal, and use homemade guns and bombs. The messages are being posted in Telegram chat rooms where white supremacist content has been freely shared for months, but chatter on these channels has increased since extremists have been forced off other platforms in the wake of the January 6th siege of the U.S. Capitol by pro-Trump rioters. The Telegram is a Dubai-based messaging service that does little moderation of its content and has a sizable international user base, particularly in Eastern Europe and the Middle East. Let me say it for you again, for those of you who may have missed it, because it just came in from NBC News, and it was reported by Anna Schechter. Right-wing extremists are using encrypted channels to call for violence against government officials on January 20th, the day Joe Biden is inaugurated, with some extremists sharing knowledge of how to make, conceal, and use homemade guns and bombs. The messages are being posted in Telegram chat rooms where white supremacist content has been freely shared for months, but chatter on these channels has increased since extremists have been forced off other platforms in the wake of the January 6th siege of the U.S. Capitol by pro-Trump rioters. Telegram is a Dubai-based messaging service that does little moderation of its content and has a sizable international user base, particularly in East Europe and the Middle East. Good afternoon to all of you who are watching on social media and listening on YouTube and listening on 96.1 FM, 900 AM. The goal here is to continue. Good morning, good afternoon, Kim Kat. That you all pay attention. It has gotten really interesting. I noticed yesterday, I try not to leave my house too often. Yesterday when I went out, that people are decidedly a little bit less friendly. And so you can tell, folks used to at least pretend that they were decent and kind, at least used to pretend that they wanted to be around us, to be in the supermarkets with us, to be in jobs with us. That's not happening anymore. And so I need you all to pay attention to what's going on out here and do not take this thing lightly. I'll come back to that, but there's some things that I wanted to get back to you on. Yesterday, a caller, I believe it was Miss Madeline, but I can't remember now, called in to talk about dumping in the city. And I have some friends in the city offices that sent a thing back to me that says Keith Warren is the Deputy Commissioner of Streets and Sanitation Department. You can reach him at Keith.Warren, that is WARREN, at phila.gov, or call 215-686-5470, or Carlton Williams from the Street Department. He's the commissioner. Carlton.Williams at phila.gov at 215-686-5460. Again, if to talk about dumping via Philadelphia, dumping in the city of Philadelphia, Keith Warren, Deputy Commissioner of Streets and Sanitation Department, Keith.Warren, that's WARREN, at phila.gov, and you can reach him at 215-686-5470, or Carlton Williams from the Street Department, Commissioner, Carlton.Williams at phila.gov at 215-686-5460. In terms of mentorship for young men, you can go to 100 Black Men, www.100blackmenphilly.org. And the National CARES Mentoring Movement also has a mentoring program, and that's caresmentoring.org. As it applies to the homeless shelter, Rick from Germany called yesterday. You all think I'm not paying attention to you. Rick from Germany called yesterday to ask how many emergency housing facilities were there in Philadelphia. There are 24 emergency housing facilities, 16 transitional housing programs, 5,825 long-term housing units, and the contact information is the Apple Tree Family Central Intake Center, located at 1430 Cherry Street, Cherry, Philadelphia, PA 19102. And the phone number to call the Apple Tree Family Central Intake Center is 215-686-7150. Again, there are 24 emergency housing facilities, 16 transitional housing programs in Philadelphia, 5,825 long-term housing units. And if you want to contact them, it's the Apple Tree Family Central Intake Center. Good afternoon, all of you. I see you on Facebook, located at 1430 Cherry Street, Philadelphia, PA 19102. And the phone number to reach them is 215-686-7150. So I'm moving right along. The other thing that I wanted to share with you, because, I can't wait for Reverend Dr. Alan Waller to come on today, because he and I have been talking about that took place last Wednesday, because we both saw it coming, and we've been talking about it for months. I want to share something with you. Hold on, let me pull up this stuff. What did I do with all this stuff? Lord Jesus, am I losing my things? Someone by the name of Chase Roper, dear Comcast, I need you to pay attention to this. Someone by the name of Chase Roper 20 hours ago tweeted, "I just quit working for Xfinity/Comcast. I want families to know that the Special Essentials program they offer to low-income households for $9.95 a month is only 25 megabytes per second, and in almost every single case, not an adequate speed for children to do their live Zoom or online class work." He then went on to say, "I was struggling with the requirements to pitch additional lines of business to struggling individuals in the wake of COVID at any cost." He went on to say, also, TV broadcast fees were just raised to just under $20. The company sets these fees and in the wake of a pandemic has already made big gains in profitability of families struggling and yet raised this arbitrary fee anyway. Then he went on to say, "The only reason to pay them for live TV is sports. A customer now, I will continue to get a 400 megabytes per second connection and use Xfinity Mobile, which has been costing me about $16.72 a month on top of my internet bill." And he says, "Keep in mind, too, that they are raising rates fees while our country faces this nightmare, but they also cut all costs of leasing call center buildings, stocking office supplies, bathroom supplies, handing out snacks, drinks, prizes, etc., because most of the Comcast employees are home." And so he says, "Many agents on the phone will tell customers that a TV internet landline bundle with a speed of 100 megabytes per second that costs less than an internet-only speed of 600 megabytes per second will work just as perfect for your household when it won't, because they make triple the dollars on their paycheck." So I need somebody from Comcast to refute some of this for me, please. The only time I have ever heard is that they were talking about an essentials program that really wasn't helping the children in the community. The program wasn't up and running in the community centers, and I talked about that here on the air, and then those children were able to get what they needed. So this person, he could be a disgruntled employee, but he's getting a lot of traction from this, right? And so let's see. Let's. I'm hoping someone from Comcast will call and let us know. I have to tell you, I don't have Comcast. I have another service, and it went from arbitrarily. What was I paying? 100 and maybe 40 something dollars a month to over $300 a month. So I just told my husband, I'm calling them, I'm shutting them down. I can't believe it. Something is crazy here. And if we are really concerned about what's happening with the people in this city and in this state with everything that's going on with COVID, we got to be better at this. So if someone from Comcast wants to call me and tell me that this man is crazy and give me a better idea of what's going on, I am so happy to hear from you, because that's how Marvel always works this thing. Let me just see. There's one more thing I wanted to. Chris Norris just texted me to say he loved my hair. Thank you, honey. I love my new hair too. Want to make sure that I had this other stuff for you guys. There's always something going on out here. The Congresswoman, 75, black woman, tested positive for coronavirus, but she was already given one dose of the Pfizer vaccine. So they're watching to see what happens with her there. Don't know, according to what I was told when we first began talking about this, that if you have the active virus in the middle of trying to get a vaccine, I don't know what's going to happen there, but she got the vaccine. And 2 Capitol officers were suspended, and at least a dozen more are under investigation. One was beaten to death with a fire extinguisher, and one committed suicide. So Capitol Police in Washington, D.C., they've been very quiet. No one's really saying, we're not getting any open information right now. And so let's see. Viola say a smart TV is the way to go. You're right, Viola. We'll talk about that another time. But Dolores says, thank you for the dumping information. It was me that called to ask for help because my surrounding is very poor. Thank you. You're quite welcome, my sister. Wherever we can help you, because this is what we're here for. Not just to hear ourselves talk, but to give you what you need. Prince, you called in early today. Lord, what's going on, Prince?
I figured I'd get in before church start.
What's up? Are you listening to what's going on, Prince? Oh, my gosh.
I know. It seems like your show goes so fast because you got deliverables, man. You bring it, and you let people understand that it's not going to be accepted. But if you don't know it, then you can't decipher what's going to be accepted and what's not going to be accepted. So I wanted to tell you the parking authority had put in all these cameras, these speed cameras, and so it was designed so you wouldn't go fast on certain roads that has shown the ability to have accidents. But the question is, the revenue has already been parlayed out. So for instance, if I go to another city and I say, well, I have some parking issues in Philadelphia,
right?
You give me $600,000 liquid cash, and I can deliver you $2 million in tickets. And
right.
So this is how, in this poor city, how we've been leveraged throughout the United States, because your parking authority speeding tickets or your red light camera tickets, that revenue go to Maryland. It doesn't come to us in the city of Philadelphia. And anyone take a look at their tickets before they call you, they'll find that it's outsourced. And that's a fundamental problem about not caring about us, because you got $600,000, hypothetically, I don't know the exact number. You got $600,000 liquid, and now you got $2 million of obligations that you have to obtain for these folks that you've sold us to. And this has to stop. This is ridiculous. And another thing, ask your callers when they call up to take a look at their tickets that they may have received. So a $41 parking ticket could yield you $100. That's 60. That is that's 120% more than what the ticket is per ticket. So they tell you can make an arrangement, you can go down and do all these things, but the bottom line is, why you keep calling us the poorest, largest big city and then overcharging or charging us fees as if we're all working, as if we all got good jobs, as if we're all making six figures, and this is what is hurting us as a community in Philadelphia. And I think that, when you get your callers and they call on, ask them if they have a parking ticket, and then look at the fees of a parking ticket. Why does it cost $100 for a $41 ticket?
Why?
Right? And then if you got a problem, if they try to justify that question, then ask them why they spent almost $1 million on machinery to move snow that's ineffective.
Hey, Prince, did I tell you about the time they booted my car for a ticket that I didn't get?
Right. How about that?
I had a whole cow. I gotta tell you, my windshield was broken, and I had to get my windshield replaced. And they took the when they replace your windshield, they don't put the stickers back on, right? Something about the
Right,
laws.
that's correct.
So they put it in glass and put it on the dashboard, which is where my thing was sitting. Child gave me a ticket that according to them, they gave me a ticket that I did not pay. Never saw that ticket, right? And then they came and I was over by Uncle Bobby's, and they booted my car. I was hot. Unfortunately for them, I was able to pay right away to have the boot removed, and then I went down there and gave them a whole what for. But you're right, they literally, people, and if people can't afford to pay like I can, it cost me like $900 and something to get that thing off my car. It was so ridiculous, right? So you're absolutely right. There has to be another way for us to figure out what is going on with the parking authority and where the monies are going and who is benefiting from them. The other thing that I noticed, Prince, and I got to get off soon because I'm reading a book called Dark Money. It's a book that I'm going to recommend that each and every one of you read. And it talks about how the very few people, I'm talking less than 10 people, run what goes on in this country. And just a bit about everything that happens here, from global warming to the stuff that you see happening in the country now, has these 6 people behind them, right? And I noticed in reading the book about an hour, because I've been listening and reading a little bit at a time, that many of these politicians get their money from these folks. It's wrapped up behind organizations and nonprofits and stuff, and they give them these innocuous names. But locally and statewide and federally, and especially locally, they've been putting so much money into these local elections. These politicians are going and taking the money, right? And then they end up owing these folks because they don't really know who is behind the people that are giving them this money, right?
And there's another book that you should read called Bad Paper.
Bad Paper
Bad Paper is a book that tells you how these folks are going to get in debt so you can buy their debt. So when somebody's calling you different from your mortgage company who you signed on with, that means your debt has been sold to somebody else, and they can do nefarious things in order to get that. I was paying a ticket, and the guy was in a wheelchair. They had towed his truck, and his number was 32, and he's in a wheelchair, and his coat was in his truck that they towed. And they had no compassion to let this man wait in the lobby until I walked back to the door and said, hey, do me a favor. Can he at least wait inside the lobby because it is cold out here? And 2 or 3 of them, had their little huddle like they on a football team, and they let him in to wait in the lobby. But I shouldn't have to do that. I shouldn't have to act of that. But there should be some politicians somewhere that care about us to help us out. And I'm going to hang up and listen to you and listen to church.
Yeah. Thank you so much, man. Always such a good time talking to you. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM. Did George really call me at 121? He didn't even let me take my lantern, my mailbox yet. 96.1 FM, 900 AM. Streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
Hi, this is John.
Hi, this is Juanita, owners of JD's Auto Body and Painting. We're located at 6300 Wayne Avenue, right there at the intersection of Wayne and Washington Lane.
We really like to thank all you WURD listeners for the support that you've given our business, and we really hope to see you in the future.
JD, tell them about our products and services we have.
We have a new state-of-the-art paint shop along with our body shop and detail shop. We can help you with the dents and scratches from the winter season.
Come to JD's Auto Body and Painting. Come on out and check us out. We're still honoring that WURD 10% discount. Give us a call, 215-848-5949. Again, 215-848-5949.
Thanks again for supporting our business. We really appreciate you.
See you at JD's Auto Body and Painting.
This is not a fad for us.
We will not resume our regular programming when things die down. We're not black to help our bottom line or because it's politically correct. We're not joining a fight. This has been our fight, our message, our people. Black lives have always mattered here. We are
Undeniably.
indefatigably, unapologetically, permanently Black Talk Media.
WURD.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. Before Reverend Dr. Alan Waller gets on the line, my sister's texted me that my hair looks crazy today. I am hot. I'm having a hot flash, and so instead of my hair sitting neatly and nicely, I'm all over the place just playing with it. So just ignore me for a minute. I'm not as crazy as I look. Oh my God, but I'm having a hot flash, and it's so crazy. George, where are you, sir?
You know, I never call this early. I like to keep all these people
I know.
of knowing who is going to be, you know, we're going to read their eulogy or something of that nature. But, you know, Prince hit it right on the head when he said about the parking authority. You know, under Title 70, I think it is, under the Motor Vehicle Code, they're not allowed to write tickets for your inspection. You know, like if you haven't had your car, your stickers on your car inspected or something,
Right.
they're outdated or something. The parking authority, even Judge DeLeon heard the case. Then it went to state court, right, and they heard the case. And each time the courts ruled that that's a state issue there, that the parking authority does not have the authority to do that. But they're collecting money off that. And they haven't stopped collecting money off that. So, therefore, they either, crooks, extortion, whatever you want to call it. The point is they're breaking the law. Mm-hmm. And after the courts told them they're not allowed to do it, they still do it. But they know that people do not have the money to fight them to go, you know, every time you get a ticket, you can't be paying a lawyer to go to court because then you got to go to Commonwealth Court. So it end up, for a $50 ticket, it end up costing you $500 or $600 to defend it. Don't make sense. Second thing where the parking authority is extorting the public is that when Councilwoman Blackwell had the embassy program, the parking authority is now going back on that there of saying if you can't come up with the receipt, then you have to pay everything that we forgave in full. So all that money that was forgiven, they're getting it back. That's what you call in federal court extortion. That's what they're doing. If you don't give me this, then we're going to. If you can't give me this, then we're going to take that.
So then what's the option, George? What are the options? Because you know we're talking about the things that have gone wrong. I'm going to keep asking this.
That really went wrong. And the state representatives know it. That's a state issue. They refuse to deal with it. Now, they got 1 week to deal with it, or we're going to have a roll call of the ones who've been asked to deal with it. Okay. Plain and simple as that. You know, I don't mind having a roll call of the ones that's been asked, and none of them want to do anything. You notice that none of the Philadelphia delegation ever want to do anything to benefit their constituents. You know why? We never talk about them. It's like they don't even exist. They look for attention. If you ever notice when they have a press conference or something, it's always in City Hall. Never at their state office place or at their office. They always run into City Hall. And every chance they get, they want to give up their office to run for city council. So therefore, they don't even like the job they have. So you know what? I think that we should start putting people in there who like the job of being state rep. So we're going to have a roll call on who likes their job and who don't like their job. And they got 1 week to try to get all the legislation together that they passed, because I already have it. And the ones who, and don't be telling me about you putting the thing where they have to have certain type of toilet paper in the bathroom or something like that. That's the kind of frivolous stuff that they do. Or you must have certain type of napkins or a certain type of sanitated water. Believe me, it took me a while to get it. And it's very easy to get because it's a matter of public information. You know, you can get it. All you have to do is request it. You can get any kind of information you want from Harrisburg, any kind of legislation, their voting bill, anything, you know. So they want to play games. We're going to have a roll call. We're going to talk about what you vote on, what you do, what you have introduced. Now, none of them can say they introduced anything and got it passed because they haven't. In the whole 6 years they've been there, most of them, then none of them got anything passed. Oh, well, they'll come up with a story. You know that, but I'm quite sure you're going to check them on it. But like I said,
listen, let me tell you something.
We have a lot of people who defend these sorry elected officials who's getting a nice paycheck, and they keep suckering you because everybody want to treat them like they some kind of superstar or something. look, being nice, the Republicans taught you one thing: being nice gets you nothing. These people are not there to be, like, catered to. Everybody catered to them instead of them catering to you. You know, you don't work for them, they work for you. You put them in office to provide a service. State elected officials is going to Harrisburg to make laws.
Hey, George, you ever considered running for office?
No. I don't.
Listen, man. All right. So if you're not going, if you're not going to run for office, George, tell me something concrete that you're going to do other than outing these people. Tell Mother. Are you helping somebody else to run for office, George? Are you helping somebody else to find the funds to run for office?
It's real easy. That part is real easy for me. I do it all the time. Get the funds and, get the people behind. But my thing is that they've been getting a free ride because nobody ever talk about them. And the ones who talk about them, either they're kissing up and don't know what they're talking about, or they just don't know what to talk about. See, it's a difference when you sitting there and people letting you see how big of a fool they are and how they sell their community down the drain. Now, you don't have to like Jim Kenney, but Jim Kenney will let you sit there and see how these people will sell. He makes it very clear. I can buy them as little as $250 and no more than $2,500. They'll sell their whole community down the drain. And one person that I trust and have faith in that never took a penny and don't deal with these elected officials is Pastor Wilder. He's one.
And guess who's on the line now? So I'm about to boot your behind, and you're gonna listen to Pastor Wilder, and let's talk about this. Okay, you ready?
Yes, I got you.
All right. Bye, sir. Bye. Reverend Dr. Alan Waller. Yes.
Oh, Lord.
I feel so vindicated, sir. You and I have been talking for months about what happened last Wednesday. Months.
We've been talking about it, so try.
Yeah, so let me introduce you properly, because I never like to assume that everybody knows who you are. Reverend Dr. Alan E. Waller is the senior pastor of the Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Hello. So for those of you who are just joining us for the first time, Pastor Waller and I have been talking every Tuesday. Wow, seems like just before summer.
That's right. Right after I was. It was right after April 20th, really, because it was right after I was tested positive.
Yes. And I asked you if you could come back on just for the elections, for the primaries. Right. You stayed with we've not stopped talking. But what made me continue to have you come on, and we're going to keep talking until you tell me you're done with me, seriously, because I believe that our voices are being heard, that people are paying attention, and we spoke. You said last Tuesday, keep your head on swivel.
That's right.
Pastor Waller, Wednesday, when everything broke apart. Yesterday, I had to go to the market. White folk are not being very friendly these days, sir.
No. In fact, they're in at least three camps. Some of them are doing the most to prove that they're not what we think. Some don't know what they're doing, so they are very sheepish and don't know what to do. And then others, now that they're outed, are just going to run with it. They're too far out. They might as well trump their way out. And so they're acting like it. And you just have to know who you're dealing with. It's sad, but we are here. And we knew we would get here. We've been saying it's going to get worse before it gets better. In this country, it's how insidious racism is, because we know what to do with threats. We know what to do with if this was anybody else other than white people making the threat. We have an army. I served in the army. I know what it means to go through boot camp and prepare for Russian threat. I took threat 1, threat 2, threat 3. Our military knows what to do with this. What is confusing them is that it's them. It's police officers from Philadelphia going down, detectives from Philadelphia. It's 4 busloads from Newtown going down there. They don't know how to fight when the enemy is themselves. And so in this moment, we're going to have to stand strong. We're going to have to call on this country to do what it needs to do. People think that it is perfunctory to go through this impeachment. Everybody knows the reason we killed Osama bin Laden, and I want to be very careful with what I say in this moment. The reason that we killed Osama bin Laden is because everyone knows
that if you're going to neutralize a threat, you've got to cut the head off.
Head off. Yes.
Now, someone will say, I'm calling for the assassination of Donald Trump. What I'm calling for is this country to make a definitive statement on his presidency. That is how you shut some of this stuff down or begin. And if we're not willing to do that, it doesn't matter how many of them that you put in jail. If you don't make a statement on the man who told them to go in the building, this is not going to stop.
Yeah, I agree. And in fact, the chatter has increased. And so what advice do you have for Black and brown people in Philadelphia and beyond? Because the day before it happened, you and I were on the air talking. I called my friend. My anxiety level went up. So I called one of my dearest friends and I said, I need you all to get out the streets. I know COVID is out here. Stay out the streets, and this is why. And her husband said to me, Andrea, we have laws in this country. What you're talking about cannot possibly happen. The next day, Pastor Waller, them and a bunch of other people kept calling me like, what should we do? And so yesterday I was giving people tips, stock up on your food, make sure you have extra water in your basement, and not just water to drink, but water to flush your toilet just in case our water system is compromised. If you can afford to buy a generator, get a generator just in case our electrical grid is compromised. I think people think that these are just, a bunch of folk that are out here being angry and it will all go away. And what they fail to realize is that we're deeply moving into a civil war that could last years. Please make folks understand that we're not crazy, sir.
No, that's right. That is exactly right. And we have to think, we have to think first of all about the safety of our individual families and our community. And this is a moment where all of us need to think about your loved one and think about who you are connected to. So first of all, number one, don't be scared. Don't run around here scared. We're going to make it through this. It's almost like in the Bible, there was a story around the 27th chapter of Acts when Paul was in a boat, and they should have never gotten on the boat, but they did. And Paul got word from God, said, listen, everybody's going to make it. This boat might get torn up, but we're going to make it. And the teaching of that Bible lesson is about when you are going in the wrong direction and God allows a storm to come, he'll tear up the instrumentality of that direction, but can save you. There is so much about the direction of this country that was wrong that is going to have to be torn up.
Yes.
And so many of us are going to realize that this country is going to be torn back down to its basics, but we're going to survive. But we're going to survive because we have faith in God. We're going to survive because we focus on what's necessary and what's right. We're going to survive because we take care of our family and reprioritize. All of this is going to happen. So everybody's going to have to start asking themselves what's really important and who's really important.
There you go.
And not to do superfluous spending, because we could run into an issue where cash is king because the electrical grid, it gets shut down. And so all of that is true, but what we can't do is allow this to turn us on each other and allow that. We have to continue to stay the course and not be afraid. Some of this is the enemy, and quite frankly, the enemy loves to function in fear. And if all of us get afraid, this is not the time to be afraid of white folks. This is not the time. This is the time to be resolute and not pander to them either. This is the time to be on our knees. This is the time to be in the Word of God. This is the time to let excellence be your protest. This is the stuff that we have to do right now and force our country to live up to who it said. The brother that you had on before, well, I can't embrace everything that he was saying. I think we do have to say to our elected officials, y'all got to do your job.
Yes.
We got to get down and we're going to support you, but you've got to do your job. We've got to make sure that our people are seated at the state assembly. We've got to make sure that these places are protected. We have to make sure that now that we see what it is here in Philadelphia, we need to be ashamed of ourselves if we can't repeat the Stacey Abrams approach to politics and pull ourselves together and put some of our people in place. That's the season that we're in. This other stuff is going to get rough, but it's going to play itself out.
So you know, you and I are on the same wavelength again. I tell folks, don't be afraid, but be prepared. And being prepared means as things are on sale, like we have the can sale going on at ShopRite, go get your cans, put them aside. Don't eat them all up at one time, you know. And don't, this is not a short-term thing, it's a long-term thing. Pay attention to everything that's going on around you. If you are going to leave your home to go do something, as Nehemiah said to us last Thursday, tell somebody where you're going and how long you'll be gone, right?
That's right. That's right.
You know, stuff like that, so that folks are aware and that we can take care of each other. Know where your insurance policies are if you have them. Make sure, you know, just stuff like that. Check in. And you're right, that whole cash is king thing. In 2016, the summer of 2016, I said to a bunch of folks who were in my house, I was having a meeting, and about 60 of them showed up. It was crazy. I thought my husband was going to shoot me. And I said to them, don't spend money if you do not have to. Right? Don't go out there and just blow money for the sake of blowing money, because these are things that are getting ready to happen. And I remember, Dr. Waller, more than 90% of them looked at me like I was crazy. Right? But when you start to pay attention to what's happening around the country, and when we are well-read people, I'm reading a book now called Dark Money that talks about the Koch brothers and how involved they are in everything, and how they are the ones, along with two other folks, who invested in the local elections. They didn't, when Obama won, they decided to invest in the local elections so that they could take over the Senate and the House as much as possible. They started spreading the word that, taxed enough already. All these things, nothing is new under the sun, but you never saw them, sir. You never saw them. You just heard about all these. This commercial is sponsored by X, Y, and Z, and you never know who X, Y, and Z is. And so I tell my people, be well read. Pay attention to what's going on around you and understand how this works. When we come back, because I'm holding on to you just for a little bit, I want you to talk to me about the gerrymandering of the courts. I'm going to have a judge on to talk about that. Tell me what you know about that. And we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening in terms of the virus. And where we are with vaccines, because the Philadelphia Inquirer came out with an article yesterday that says, surprise, surprise, more white folks are getting vaccinated than black folks. Can you hold on 1 second, please?
Yep.
All right, hold on. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Solutions on Word.
Hosted by Dwayne Royster and Amadi Braxton.
Solutions on Word.
Exploring solutions to national, state, and local issues through the lens of race and gender.
Solutions on Word.
Fridays 5 p.m. till 7 p.m. exclusively on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Solutions is sponsored by Power Interfaith Movement, working towards life, liberty, and democracy for all. As a business owner, hiring and developing people from the community that your company serves is one of the best ways to show commitment to that community. Let Word Radio help with Livelihood, our new initiative that connects Philadelphians with companies like yours. We'll feature your business, open employment opportunities, and resources to connect your company with talent and ensure that you reach your target demographic. To learn more about how Livelihood can help you build your team, visit wordworks.com. That's WURDworks.com. Livelihood is supported by the Nightland Fest's Local News Transformation Fund, Borealis Philanthropies Racial Equity and Journalism Fund, and the Solutions Journalism Network.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on Word Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you're just joining us, I have on the line my regular Tuesday 125 caller, Reverend Dr. Alan E. Waller, who is a senior pastor of the Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church in Philadelphia. And we've been talking about the events that have been taking place around the country in the last week, and how much we have been discussing it over the last, well, he and I have been talking now for almost a year. But, you know, how much we've been discussing what was coming, and that we want people to not be afraid, but to get themselves ready and to be resolute in the climate that we're in right now, because we have to hunker down for the long haul. He also spoke about the fact that things have to be torn up America has been going down the wrong path for so long that it all has to be torn up from the root so we could get to where we need to be. And that is uncomfortable. There are people that are going to go kicking and screaming in the process. And so people, and let me also be very clear with all of you. He may not say this, but I am going to say it, that some people are going to die. And so you want to pay attention and make sure that you know what everything is going on around you. Make sure you know where your family members are. And I'm not just talking about black and brown folks either. This is what happens when civil war takes place. People get angry and they become subversive, and all sorts of funny things start taking place. Do not be afraid. Just be very aware of what's going on around you. And if you see something that's not right, go on about your business and get yourself to a place of safety. Okay? Don't tackle folks if you don't have to. And so, Dr. Waller, thank you again for continuing to stay with me. The Philadelphia Inquirer put out an article yesterday that said that black and brown people are being left behind again. So in terms of the vaccine, what do we do?
Well, I do know that the Black Doctors Consortium has been tapped on the shoulder, and we are working with churches, and there will be vaccinations happening in churches. I was in a meeting with Deliverance, Enon, Salem, Victory Christian. There is a plan for the vaccine. I understand people have concerns about the vaccine. I'm one of those that shares concerns.
Yes.
But the truth of the matter is the way through this is through responsible behavior and medicine, which includes the vaccine. They have demonstrated all that they can know, they do know, and this seems to be the best pathway forward, and so we're going to need to get the vaccine. There's some of us in a trial. I'm in I have the antibodies, so I'm in a trial, and they're testing me, and so we're going to find out how long I keep the antibodies. When I run out of them, I'll get the vaccine myself.
Right.
And so, we all have to take advantage of it. We've got to, we in the black community in Philadelphia need to make sure that we get behind, support Dr. Ayla Stanford. We've got to make sure that we who have influence make sure she gets the support from the city that she needs, because proven she has a way to get to us that other entities don't. And so we're going to have to continue to pay attention. And when it's your turn, go get it.
Yeah, she was on last Tuesday. You were on when she was talking,
right.
And she was supposed to come back on Thursday. She had the second dose on Wednesday, and man, it knocked her out. But she was very open and transparent about what her journey. It took her about 30 hours to come back to normal, and she's still encouraging people to take the virus because there are now variants of it floating around out here, and they're trying to get as many people inoculated as possible. A 75-year-old congresswoman who was locked up in the Capitol, afraid, she just tested positive for the virus, right?
That's right.
But she had already gotten one dose of the Pfizer vaccine. Her symptoms are mild, they say. So they're saying that if she had had the second shot, that she would not have caught the virus. We don't know, but I plan to.
And that's the point. That's the point.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Right.
And what they have to do is be honest and leave it there. We don't know.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
we think so, but we don't know.
Right.
And what I want people to remember is that even after you have the vaccine, you got to social distance and put on your mask.
Yes.
That's a non-negotiable until there is herd immunity, which is going to take at least the rest of this year. So even when we decide that we're going to start getting back together, what I envision is September is going to get here, and you can go back to church, and churches that used to hold 5,000 people will only have 1,000 in it, and those 1,000 people will have masks on. And we won't kiss each other. We won't slap your neighbor, give your neighbor a high five.
Yes.
We'll sit there and text your neighbor, wink at your neighbor, and we're getting ready to go into a new season.
Yes,
frankly, for a while. Yeah.
I agree. I absolutely agree. I said last week, I'm not hugging another soul anytime soon. Black folk, we love to hug and hold on to you and kiss you on your cheek. All that's going to be over for a little while. Let's talk quickly now about the gerrymandering of the courts. What do you know about that?
Well, I don't claim to know a whole lot. Here's what I do know, that when it is time for us to elect judges, particularly Supreme Court judges in Pennsylvania, they impact this very process. It's been hard to get black people at that level, and we're going to have to hear about the black women that are running for that seat and begin to support. This is where the reason that Mitch McConnell could turn a blind eye to all of Donald Trump's foolishness for the last 4 years is because Mitch McConnell knew what he wanted. He wanted judges. He wanted judges, because judges determine how we cut up this land. You know, if you ever look at a map and you wonder why things look the way they look, the lines are all curvy, because they're trying to cut up Pennsylvania or cut up Ohio to keep power in the hands of white people. And we need to recognize that. However, there are enough of us that if we get involved, we can help them, we can force them to not do what they're trying to do.
Agreed.
I would encourage you to get a politician in or a judge in to talk about the rules behind it. What I can speak to is we need judges, and particularly on the Supreme Court in Pennsylvania, who are friendly to our community, who will not let them cut up the districts in ways that always leave blacks in a minority in every district. That's what gerrymandering is. It's cutting up the slice of the pie so that every slice always has more vanilla than chocolate. And we don't want that to happen, because even though we're going to have some vanilla slices, we ought to have some chocolate slices too.
Agreed. And so I do have a judge coming on. You know, I don't play those games, Reverend Dr. Waller. There will be a judge coming on to talk about this and to give us an idea so that folks know what's going on. The other thing is that I learned in doing my research is that Pennsylvania is one of the most gerrymandered states in the country. How have they been able to get away with this for so long? I don't even know.
Well, it's because in between Pittsburgh and Philadelphia is Pennsylvania. That's why. The bottom line is, those of us who live in Philadelphia don't realize that the rest of our state is antithetical to what Philly is. Nowhere else in the state is like Philadelphia, and so they want to chop it up so that at the state house, Philadelphia has no power, and black communities have no power, and that's why. Because if you add up Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Erie, and Harrisburg, if you add the black people up in those concentrated areas, we make up a lot of people in this state. But if you chop us up so that none of us are in concentration, then when you get to the state house, everybody who represents us doesn't look like us. That's why they do it. So we need to bear that in mind, and we need to also we need to make sure that those of us who live outside of Philadelphia and in Pittsburgh and in Erie and in Harrisburg get involved in the political system and make sure that there are other voices other than Philadelphia voices representing the black community.
Agreed. It's always such a pleasure talking to you. I want to thank you for just, sticking with me, and because there were a couple of times when you called in, I needed you to pray for my soul because I was so anxious. And when I talk to you, I feel a little bit calmer because I know that what we're going through is something that we have to go through, but we will come out on the other side. And I love the fact that you don't stand on airs, and you're not, it's not about anything other than taking care of the people the best way we all know how to, and that we're working together in tandem to make this a reality for the people of this city and beyond. So I just want to thank you. Thank you again so much. And hopefully the country won't be on fire when we talk again next Tuesday.
And it won't be. One of the things I think we need to remember, the period that Martin Luther King did his ministry, that we call the Civil Rights Movement, was about a 13-year period, from 1955 to 1968 when he was assassinated. Our parents fought what we're dealing with over these last let's even say the last 4 years. They dealt with it for over 15 years. And what we dealt with over this last week, when you look back in the 60s, I mean, our parents were dealing with we hear like last year, every year.
Yes.
If they could do it, we can
do it.
And we
Yeah.
owe it to them to do it, period.
Yes. And that's a perfect way to end this. You have a wonderful afternoon. Tell the people that
Right.
Dina Mother said hello, and I will talk to you next Tuesday, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Bye, sir. Bye-bye. All right. Before I take a quick break, I'll take Dr. April Volts after I get off the commercial break, because she and I can have a good conversation. Let me take Bobby quickly. Bobby, are you there?
I'm still here, baby.
How you doing, Mama?
I'm so good, sweetheart. Listen,
What can I do?
I got 3 points I want to speak on real quick.
Okay.
Number one, most important is the trash. I'm on Lindbergh Boulevard, so you can, as far as my eyes can see, I can see trash. But guess what the magic is that I've discovered? And I'm taking my camera out with me today. You know, when they had those big wheeler trucks that's carrying a bunch of whatever supplies, and then they have the little part they detach and they drive on? Okay, where there is, let me see, that's Lindbergh, and I forgot, but the G-Bus turn there. Anyway, all these trailers, drivers, trucks, all of a sudden they're leaving them, you know what I'm saying, and taking that little powering part and going. And there's trash totally developed. But the company names is not on the bodies of those trucks, okay?
Okay, so are you capturing pictures of these things?
I'm getting ready to go get the license plates off of those trucks.
You better go on, Bobby. You better go on.
Okay. Because this is the issue. They keep saying we nasty, but these are people that live somewhere else, come to drop the supply. I guess they're waiting to pick up or whatever, and they trash the area.
Yes.
Those big trucks. Okay. And there's a sign clearly states that these big trucks are not supposed to park on this street.
Let me say this to you though. I got to take a quick commercial break, but let me say this to you. I want to thank you because you're exactly what I'm talking about, Bobby. You know how we fuss and we complain about what we see? You then took matters into your hand. You're going to take pictures of the license plates and just do it safely. Make sure you're not harmed in any way, right? Take somebody with you, and then we can have those pictures so we can talk to. Because I'm telling you, everywhere around the city, and you're right, they talk about how we're nasty and how we throw things, and most folks don't realize that folks are coming into our neighborhoods and dumping their trash on our streets. Tires and bags of trash and what am I talking about? When people are doing work in their homes, the contractors, they just drop all sorts of foolishness.
And come bring their garbage. So I'm putting all of that because they're responsible. Their companies can be straight, and they have to be responsible for cleaning that mess up.
That's what I'm talking about. Miss Bobby, I got to take a commercial break, but I want to thank you.
Baby.
And from my heart to yours, my sister, thank you, okay?
I love you, boo.
Love you too, honey. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You are listening to The Source, and this is what I'm telling you. If you empower the people, they'll get up and do what needs to be done. We don't always have to wait on the politicians. If we go out and we find what is wrong and we give it to them and they don't do something, then call mother. Then we'll work it out. 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. We will be right back after these messages.
Happy New Year, Philly. It's Solomon Jones. The pandemic of 2020 blew the roof off of life as we know it and forced us to make radical decisions once thought impossible. Many parents and grandparents turned to the option of a public cyber education. In thousands of instances, they sought assistance from the one true pioneer and industry leader in public cyber education, Commonwealth Charter Academy. Visit ccaeducate.me and exercise your right to choose a safe, hassle-free, student-focused learning environment your kids deserve. CCA delivers elite online instruction streamed directly to the safety and comfort of your living room. They provide a laptop and headset along with internet connectivity that includes financial assistance, all at no cost to families. CCA has been the gold standard in school choice for nearly 20 years. Visit ccaeducate.me and ring in 2021 with a 5-star learning experience. Again, that's ccaeducate.me.
The Word Radio newsletter.
Keeping you informed, engaged, and connected.
Sign up by visiting wordradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on WURD Radio. Messages from our president and CEO, Sarah Lomax Reese. Exclusive articles and multimedia content and resources.
Stay informed
with the WURD Radio newsletter.
This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia.
Independent Black Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. Before I talk to Dr. April Volz, who I'm looking forward to having this conversation because I'm a fan of the Community College of Philadelphia, Bobby just got off the line with me about dumping in Philadelphia. And so I had the numbers to the two people. Keith Warren, who is the Deputy Commissioner of Streets and Sanitation Department. He's keith.warren@phila.gov or call 215-686-5470. Or Carlton Williams from the Street Department, carlton.williams@phila.gov at 215-686-5460. Call their numbers until somebody gets motivated to clean up more of what's going on around the city. And as you see them coming and cleaning up, take pictures and call me so I can come back on the air and thank them for doing the job that they're supposed to be doing, okay? Because it's horrible what's going on in our streets, and it shouldn't have to be. So now we're moving on to Dr. April Volz, who is the Executive Director of the Cato Scholarship. Let me give you a little bit. The new first-time college students can now apply for a scholarship that would make tuition free for hundreds of students at the Community College of Philadelphia. The scholarship is designed to address many of the obstacles faced by students. It's called the Octavius Cato Scholarship and is the result of a partnership between the college and the city of Philadelphia and will ultimately benefit 4,500 students over 5 years. On the line with me is Dr. April Volz, who is the Executive Director of the Cato Scholarship. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So great to join you today.
Thank you. I want to thank you for being understanding last week when I had to cancel all my guests because of what had taken place in the country last Wednesday. And so I had to shift what I was talking about just for that one show. And I want to thank you for your patience and understanding around that, okay?
It's no problem at all. Totally understood.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I don't take it for granted that my guests will come back on, when I have to shift them. So I just want to let you know that I do appreciate you. So, Dr. Volz, tell us what's going on with the Cato Scholarship and how much time do people have left now to apply for this?
Well, students can apply from now on and up through actually first semester. Of course, we want students to apply during this week in preparation for the first day of classes, but even during the course of the semester, students may already be enrolled at the college and may discover Cato Scholarship during the course of their first semester. And then we will have students who will start at the 10-week point of the semester and also at the 7-week for a 7-week program as well later in the semester. So throughout the semester, students can apply, but of course we want to get students enrolled and ready to get started on next Tuesday, which is the first day of classes.
So the first day of classes is January 18th, 19th?
The 19th.
January 19th. Okay.
Yes.
And when is the end of the semester? What date is that?
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
I know,
because I
date. Okay.
But students can get that information on the cct.edu website. For more information regarding Cato, because you did a really good job describing the key components of the scholarship, students may look at the site at cct.edu/Cato. And if they want further information or they want to connect with a team member, they can email Cato Scholarship at ccp.edu.
So Cato, I've been calling it Cato. Somebody should have corrected it before now.
Yeah.
It's the Jamaican in me, I'm telling you. Cato Scholarship at ccp.edu.
.edu, yes.
Okay, .edu. What does this kind of scholarship means for the average student in Philadelphia, and who can apply?
So for the average student, what it will mean is that we are hoping to eliminate the barriers and the hurdles that students may face when they decide they want to go to school, when they want to further their education. And so students will receive tuition support, so what we describe as last dollar funding. And what that means is that students will apply for Pell Grants, receive all of their grants and support scholarships, and then Cattle Scholarship will pay the balance. And so the students will not be responsible financially beyond that point. Additionally, students receive books. They get free books. They also receive resources for food and for transportation. They receive this support for up to 3 years, which is key to supporting students. There are times when it takes a little longer than for some than for others, and so we provide the support up to 3 years. They also receive wraparound support with an infrastructure that we've created with success coaches. We have staff and team members in financial aid, in advising, and in single stop, and other departments around campus that will provide that support for students. So not only do they have classes, they have the tuition paid off, they have books, they have an opportunity to receive a laptop if needed, but they are connected on campus and then off campus with referrals and support for housing and for childcare. And so it truly is a wraparound opportunity for students to not only start, so many times students start and they're dealing with some of the concerns that I mentioned with regard to finances, childcare, a number of concerns, but we have people along the way. They have an infrastructure and they have support to help them finish and to finish strongly.
This is wonderful because literally, if they can get past the application for the Pell Grants and for FAFSA, the FAFSA is what stops a lot of students. Do you have support for students who are not sure how to apply for the FAFSA?
Yes, we do. So within financial aid, they have that support, but within with Cattle Scholarship, our success coaches are phenomenal with helping students to connect the dots, walking them through processes with FAFSA, with completing processes associated with selecting classes, with registering, with every single step that could possibly prevent a student from moving forward. They may not have the motivation to connect the dots because they may perceive those dots to be bigger, big dots. We're here along the way to guide, to support, and to help them to connect those dots. And so with regard to FAFSA, you're absolutely right. Not only with applying for FAFSA, receiving the student aid report, sometimes students are selected for verification, and that step many times will cause students to just kind of stop in their tracks. We're here to help them, to walk them, talk them through, and support them with submitting their documents, as far as pointing, helping them and guiding them with our computers to upload documents, citizenship documents, various financial documents that may be required. So we're definitely here for every single step along the way.
Wow, wow. I also saw something on the website because I talked about this extensively last week before you came on the air that says for students who don't have, who have citizenship, something sort of documentation that you would still help them?
Yes. So for those students, we ask them to go to College Board, and what they do is they complete the EFC calculator. They take a snapshot of the outcome of that calculator, and they can email it to financial aid, or they can email it to Cattle Scholarship, and we will help them with connecting with the next step so that they can be verified internally for eligibility for the program. More than happy to help students with that.
Right, and someone just wrote here, and she's absolutely right. That's why I asked you this question. She said, we have found issues with parents not following through on the requirements for the FAFSA to the point where the students have lost scholarships. Is there a way they can get around this?
It really depends on the situation, really connecting with that success coach so that person can help, get the information, obtain the information, find out what type of communication the student has received, and just kind of walk and guide them through whatever the next steps are.
I've had some students sign themselves off as adults so that they can do it without their parents. The FAFSA without their parents, because parents is like, I don't want people in my business. All sorts of, when you don't know, it gets to be really interesting, and all the child wants to do is go to school, or the parents don't want to be on the hook for paying any monies back to the college. But this is something, once you decide what the FAFSA is, then you go and the kind of scholarship covers the rest of it. So it's really a free ride. It literally is a free ride if you just walk yourself and follow through the prompts as they are giving to you at the Community College of Philadelphia. What do you think this will mean to the families that you're serving? And are people applying to the scholarship, for the scholarship?
Oh, yes. We have a number of students who have already applied. And the way to apply is to apply to the college. Once students apply to the college and they fulfill all of the steps associated with FAFSA and that sort of thing, those action steps, they trickle into a report in which we know who they are, and they receive communications and follow-up. So really the very beginning is applying to the college, completing FAFSA, and then fulfilling any next steps with the communications that they receive. What it means to be a Cattle Scholar is that students don't have the burden of financial responsibility. They don't have the burden of having to work extra hours in order to pay for school, or the burden to purchase books. Students have the cost of books taken care of. Some books cost $150, some books cost $25, but that's an extra burden that students experience, even while even at the end of the first year or mid-semester, and they're getting ready to graduate. A situation could arise where they no longer have resources for books. We ensure that students will have their books covered, regardless of the cost, every step for every semester that they're enrolled through Cattle Scholarship.
Do you know why I'm so excited about this, Dr. Volz? As a parent who had two sons go through college, and they were one behind the other. When my oldest son finished college, the day he graduated from college, I got a tuition bill for the second one. And so it was 8 years straight, right?
Wow.
And I thought I was going to lose my mind. I made up my mind to make sure that they were able to finish school. They went through the K through 12, went to college. The youngest one decided he wanted to study abroad for a whole semester, which was another chunk of money, right? And so when I see programs like this, they both graduated, praise the Lord, because I was not playing with them. They graduated on time, too, in 4 years. They were out, in and out in 4 years, and went on to both live outside of the state now and doing good things with themselves. What excites me about this is for the family members who are saying, I really want my child to go to college, but I don't know, I can't see my way out. You can send them to community college for free. And when they maintain a GPA of 3.5, 4.0, and really work and network and use all the resources that you're giving to them, oftentimes they can go to the last 2 years of college and go at no cost too, right?
Yes, that's right.
Through scholarships. And so I don't want people to feel deterred if they don't see the first penny for going to college. Here is a way. If you live in the city of Philadelphia and you went to school here in Philadelphia, you graduated from a school, a private school, charter school, cyber school, or a public school here in Philadelphia, and you have residency here, you can literally go to up to 3 years of college for free in a partnership with the city and with the Community College of Philadelphia. I feel like I work for CCP, I'm telling you. As I'm constantly, because I want to give people opportunities to get out of situations that they may not think they're able to get out of, right? And if
Yes,
they love
yes.
learning, and if they love being in school, and if they, they want to try, they want to become a nurse, if they want to, anything that they decide that they want to do is available to them through CCP. And for free, you can't get any better
Yes,
than that.
yes. Now let me share how students remain eligible for the scholarship. So they just need to maintain full-time enrollment. So that's at least 12 credits per semester. As I mentioned, they have up to 3 years of support. They must achieve a 2.0 GPA at the end of each year.
Wow, and
They
that's
must
not bad,
continue-
right?
Yes. Now you mentioned the 3-point something. I wanted to make sure that I clarified that a student must achieve at least a 2.0 GPA at the end of each year, and then continue to meet milestones of credit attainment, which means they should have 20 credits by the end of year 1, 42 by the end of year 2, and so forth. And then they just need to meet with their success coach at least twice a month and participate with at least one Cato Scholarship event or program per month. Students, of course, need to complete their annual FAFSA. They must have an expected family contribution, the EFC, that they receive from their SAR report, the student aid report. It should be at 8,000 or below. And then they just need to maintain Philadelphia residency. That's it.
And it sounds like a lot, guys, but I'm promising you, it really isn't a lot in the grand scheme of things. And you have a full wraparound service there of folks to walk you through that will be patient and kind and give you what you need when you don't understand something. So I'm telling you, apply to CCP. Go to college. If you have a dream of going to college, or if you have a dream of sending your child to college and you don't know where the first penny is coming from, start there. I just put it on the webpage, ccp.edu/catto, CATTO, not CATO, CATTO, scholarship, Lord. Scholarship and apply. Just apply to the college. When you put in everything that you need to, they'll be flagged and they'll reach out to you. So you don't have to do anything after that. Just apply to the college, okay? And they'll walk you through all the other things that you need to do. Is there anything else that you want to tell the folks before we say goodbye, Dr. Bolson? Thank you so much. This was good.
Oh, listen, we need to employ you at the college. You did such an awesome job there. Pass a bucket around for you.
Listen, I am a strong proponent of education, and I believe it is the gateway out for so many things. Now, some people may, want to become and it's still education, going to carpentry school, whatever it is that you want to do, but you need to be educated on some level to get where you need to go, right? And so CCP, absolutely. I walked into your school a year or two ago now, maybe 2 years, 2018, 2019, and I fell in love with the students, fell in love with the professors, just fell in love with what I saw and the possibilities for our students. But we have to talk about these programs consistently, and we have to talk about what the possibilities are for our young people so that they know that they have a gateway out and they don't have to struggle and suffer. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So that's
right. Absolutely.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. So it's so good talking to you. Whenever you want to come back on again, let us know to promote whatever else is happening at the school where we can help students. But on behalf of all of us, thank you for leading the scholarship program, and thank you for helping our students to find a better pathway with the support of all the staff and support services that you have at CCP. Okay?
Thank you so much, Andrea. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This is so good. That was so good. So listen, y'all, if you need to go to school and you can't find the first dollar, I don't want to tell you what came out of my pockets to pay for my children to go to school. I mean, they got some scholarships, yes, but college is not a cheap proposition. And then, every semester you got to move them in, move them out. By the time the first semester was over, I was over it. I told my children to stay up there, stay wherever you went from, just stay up there. And while it hurt, my children were able to come out of college and not have to worry so much about the fees and things like that, the student loans afterwards, because their father and I worked hard to make sure that they could come out with as little debt as possible. And so This is good. This is good stuff. And CCP is offering it for free. I would suggest that you take advantage of it. 2 years of free college means, depending on the college that you may have wanted to go to, for those first 2 years, you could save over $100,000 a year. Come on, it's free, 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 free. And they're only asking you to maintain a 2.0, which is like a C grade average, right? And if you can maintain that and you're getting all the wraparound support services, then you want to increase that C to a B. And when that's doing good and we're cheering you along, increase that B to an A so you can continue to have scholarships and you finish school. I'm looking at his face. Dr. Wesley Proctor went through his BA, master's, and PhD program without having to pay a dime. Not a dime. He got schooled and listen, got his PhD through the University of Pennsylvania, child. So I'm just letting you know it can be done, and we have to let our children know that it can be done. All right, let me take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Are you tired of eating the same thing day after day? Is ordering takeout starting to get a little old? If so, then give Premium Nutrition Meals a try. With Premium Nutrition Meals, you get to select new entrees each week from several different menus, all chef-crafted, freshly prepared, and delivered right to your door. Just go to PremiumNutritionMeals.com to order to earn rewards today. WURD listeners receive $10 off orders of 6 meals or more. Enter code PREMIUMWURD at checkout.
At Social Security, we are always thinking of ways to save you time and make things easier. That's why we created My Social Security. A My Social Security account allows you to access your earnings history and benefits information, request a replacement Social Security card, get a proof of income letter, estimate and apply for benefits, and more. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security. Securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you're just joining us, I had on the line with me Dr. April Volz, who is the Executive Director for the Cato Scholarship Program at the Community College of Philadelphia, and they're now accepting applications at Cato. I keep saying Cato. Forgive me with the Jamaican accent. Applications for the Octavius Cato Scholarship, providing free tuition for eligible students. It's a great process for anyone who might want to go to school. And they give you, community college is a 2-year program. They give you up to a 3rd year if you're falling behind and you need that extra time, you know, that you can stay there and get it done. So I'm super excited about that. I want to pivot. Before I pivot to my next guest, I want to tell you again, we have more breaking news. The U.S. Capitol Police has appointed a black woman as its acting police chief after the former head resigned in the fallout from the agency's inadequate response to pro-Trump rioters who staged an insurrection at the Capitol last week. Yogananda Pittman, who previously served as an assistant chief, will be the first woman and first black person to head the Capitol Police, according to Morgan State University, the historically black school that Pittman graduated from in 1999. CNN reached out to Capitol Police and has not been able to independently confirm this, but Pittman will be replacing the former chief, Stephen Sund, who resigned last week after he was criticized for being ill-prepared to respond to the deadly mob on Capitol Hill. So that's breaking news. Well, let's see what goes from there. Sanja Nosisa is a South African and American artist creating works inspired by the cultural imagery and materials from all of her homes. Currently residing between the United States and South Africa, Sanja sells her jewelry to fund mobility and schooling. Her personal earring website, so I'm going to have to look at this, paperplanecrafts.com. She belongs to an organization called the Global MILCC Box, the Global MILCC Box, Modeling Informed Leadership and Connected Community. And so, Sanja, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Andrea.
Am I saying your name correctly?
Yes, it's Sonia.
So, see, I say Sanja. See, again, please forgive me. And your last name is Nosisa, correct?
That is actually my second first name. My full name is Sonia Nosisa Nunen Ngwane. Quite long.
Oh, all right. Well, all right then. I'm gonna stick with the Sonia.
Yeah.
So good to talk to you.
Thank
so
you.
tell
You
me,
too.
yeah. So tell me about Global MILCC.
So we call it the Global Milk Box, and we created this organization. It was created out of a hackathon that happened right as the pandemic hit, and it was becoming a big thing. We were all brainstorming ways that we could create change and impact change in local communities in ways that were globally relevant. And this is inspired by the motto of think globally, act locally. Mm-hmm. And we were inspired by all of the work that all of our predecessors, all of the people all our comrades, the people who are working now and before us have done, believing that, we've been doing this work and creating resources for our own people for generations. And the best thing that we can do is to uplift resources that already exist and connect people to these rich resources that exist in communities, and to provide global frameworks of thinking and connectivity that can empower local organizing and local action.
So I see here your database, you have information relevant to local needs, such as finding free food in Philadelphia or New York or Cape Town or Lagos. You're all over the place.
Oh, yeah. Our aim is to be able to be very broad with our human needs so that you can access food banks or educational resources no matter where you're at, and also access theoretical thinking, such as anti-racist frameworks. So some of your previous guests even spoke about these, the need for there to be resources for parents who are confronting at-home schooling, or who are trying to navigate internet options, or educators who need to talk about the uprisings that are happening all around the world. So how, as a teacher, are you supposed to talk to people and be responsive to the students' emotional and mental health needs? So we're trying to provide resources that can guide people through these really tough and challenging times, believing in the work that's already been done.
Right. You have something here about learning how facial recognition works. Can you talk to people a little bit about how facial recognition works?
Yeah. So we are offering, we're linked to an organization that has these amazing talks about technology and how facial recognition is impacting Black folk, especially because it works best apparently for white people because it was developed by white folks, but the implications of using facial recognition in the events of the past few weeks repercuss even to thinking about migration, about policing, being able to be caught by a speeding camera, and you're crossing the street and they say, this person isn't documented, this person has a warrant, and then that facial recognition being able to have that kind of immediate impact on your day-to-day life will become predominantly impactful to Black folk, as we've experienced with all of these other technologies of policing.
I'm so glad that you said that. I spoke yesterday on my social media site about the amount of folks that were pulled over in the airport and told that their faces were found in a database because they were a part of the insurrection at Capitol Hill. And someone came on there and said, well, I'm afraid that could be a problem over time. And I said, it's always been a problem. Black folks have been going through it for a long time. It just has not been made public knowledge, right? And so when you're identified through face recognition as a threat, these folks who were pulled aside at the airport, their passports will be null and void, and they will not be able to fly anywhere in the United States or around the world for right now. See how interesting that is? And so now that it's happening to a larger audience, people are like, oh my God, I can't believe. So, it is something that we all need to pay attention to. The other day, in 2020, I had a doctor's appointment, and they asked me if I was interested in signing up to have my palm read, which would then give them all my information. So the next time I came in, I would just have to have my palm read. I looked at her and I was like, no, thank you.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. Yes. And this was through Abington Hospital Health System. And so it's so interesting how technology is changing, and we don't know. We have to be very aware and prepared for what's happening as we move forward. To what extent do you think we can control any of this, if any at all, or what do we need to do to get ready for it? How do we make the general public aware and then provide the information to the community leaders, et cetera?
So I think that's, and earlier on this show you spoke about, that there's like a very few people who have control of our country, and I think that's a perfect example of the fact that these folks are already acting locally and thinking globally. They have, our healthcare professionals reading our palms, apparently, right? And contributing that to the database, which becomes a globalized issue and contributes to globalized anti-Blackness and racism. But And so what Global Milk Box is aiming to do is to provide people with resources to prepare to engage in a world that is full of people who, or full of like avenues through which this white supremacy and these technologies of policing are working. So some of our resources talk about how to prepare. Because just this morning, I added to our database a legal resource that talks about how to prepare yourself for like doctor's appointments and what you should agree or not agree to, and what you should agree to and not agree to. And this is coming from a legal office, a coalition of lawyers who have been working together for 20 years. And so I know that I don't know all these details, but I know that I have the skills to find some of these resources and curate them for folks in a way that hopefully is impactful, because I think preparedness, exactly as you said, is one of the most important things, and communication and connected community, which is what we're trying to lift up as globalized and diasporic folks, that we're all dealing with these things, and if we come together with our resources and our knowledges about how to navigate these things, we are stronger.
Do me a favor. Can you add to your database, how do people report when they're being mistreated by a physician or a nurse? I had to put that up on my thing last week because so many people were complaining about not getting the proper medical treatment. And so I had a nurse friend of mine, like you, I look for the data, the stuff in the data, and I ask questions, and then I share it with the WURD audience. But if you can put that in your database so that folks have this one-stop shopping place, what to ask for, what should you not agree to. Because when they asked to read my palm print and put it in their system, I looked at her, and it was a black woman too, and she looked at me and she started laughing. She said, "You gave me the sister look, and I'm just going to leave you alone." Before you got me.
Absolutely. Yep. And these things, go so, they extrapolate so big. Even like reporting environmental hazards and environmental violations. We've added that to the site where you can say our water isn't healthy, or our streets are dirty, and you can report who's at fault in these things. And while we know that these are not necessarily always leading to immediate effective change, I believe that it's just part of what we have to do to get there.
So tell me how we can reach you. How can folks access this information? Because this is good stuff.
Absolutely. So the Global Milk Box, we have a website, and we're also looking for folks who want to work with us. So if you want to, we have a Contact Us part of our page, and feel free to come through with that. And I'm facilitating the communications on that end. Okay. What's the website? Global Milk Box. Okay. So, Michael, so can you see us on Facebook, the Facebook Live page? Yes, I
Sonia? Do. Okay, put that on the Facebook Live page, please. And so that, wait a minute, that was adult programs. Put that up there so people can access the resources. And I'm actually going to use that webpage to access some resources that I may need for the WURD listeners too. Because sometimes when people are so traumatized and stressed out, and they're trying to figure out how to pay the rent and, pay the mortgage and make sure their children go to school and make sure they eat and all this other stuff, this kind of information sharing is great for them so that they can go back and listen over and again and know exactly where to go to get what they need to get. What else would you like to share with us? Because you seem to have so much. Ooh.
Well, I think one of the most important things is just putting out there that we are always looking for more people to collaborate with. And if you know of resources, you can also click the contact us button and submit any resources that you are aware of. And we believe that our network is stronger the wider it goes. So irregardless of location of what the resource covers, we would love to field those kinds of entries and those submissions.
You sound like a Wikipedia to me, which would be great. The other day, one day last week, I ran into an article. It's so funny. So much is going on in the country that so much goes under the radar, right? But there was an article that scientists became alarmed because in the Antarctic, the temperature rose 100 degrees from minus 110 to minus 10 in a day, right? And they said when this happens, it causes catastrophic weather events and it changes the weather pattern, the weather flow over the winter months, right? And so they're saying that the eastern side of the United States would most likely feel this catastrophic weather event. We don't know when it's coming, but it will be here. And so talk to us a little bit about global warming, because I'm telling you, we've had more fires, we had more hurricanes this past season than we have ever seen in our lives, right? Snow in places where we hadn't seen snow before, warm weather in places where it hasn't been warm, and how the earth will regenerate itself whether we get it or not, and we are the ones that will end up being pushed off of it if we don't get ourselves together. What do you have on this site as it applies to global warming?
I think that you're absolutely right. I think we are being overwhelmed with information, with news, in a way that makes it seem like we can't possibly consider our planet as one of our priorities right now. And so that becomes like we couldn't possibly think about environmentalism. We're dealing with starvation. We're dealing with houselessness. We're dealing with all these other things. But that is also the inheritance of the people who set up a system that keeps us so preoccupied with being immobilized by with our very low quality of life, which is not a necessary part of being on this planet right now.
Right.
If we opened ourselves up, and if it weren't profitable, if our suffering weren't profitable, if it weren't profitable that all these weather events are happening, all this rebuilding that must happen, all of this cleaning up that must happen every time, then we wouldn't have to be dealing with this, because we would have already moved on to clean energy. We would have already moved on to ways thinking about how can we clear up smog away from fossil fuels and coal and dirty energies.
Sonia, let me ask you this. What can the average person do, if you know? Because I do. What can the average person do to help with keeping our world a better place and making it a great thing for us?
And I think a large part of it is about awareness of what you were individually able to do. There's so many. I think that's one of the aims of the global milk, or that is one of the aims of the global milk box, is to make it accessible to make change in your everyday life. Whether it's signing a petition that the Arctic should not be cut up and sold off, as it has been planned to do, whether it is contributing to a community fridge in Philly, whether it's these daily actions that you can take that are, walking instead of driving, these small things that you can incorporate that do make a change, having conversations with your friends, changing the minds of people who, affect change, because we all are growing up in this world together. And if we all start believing and talking about these things and focusing on the large discussions about why is it that people are dumping trash in our city? Why is it that it's so expensive to go to school, but we're not getting, and why is it those are the conversations that need to be had. But I think that's how we start affecting long-lasting change and talking about it with young folk, with old folk, with everybody.
Yes. Sonia, it's so funny. My oldest son, who will be 29 this year, called me last year and he said, for the amount of money you spent for my college education, I haven't used a bit of it. He's like, I could have done this by leaving high school and going straight to work. And I started to laugh. And I said, the problem with that is, in this country, you are not recognized unless you have some sort of formal education. And he said, but mommy, that sucks. That absolutely stinks. Because he said, I could have gone straight out of high school to work for a company, learn all I needed to learn. He said, instead, you spend all this money for me for college education. I come out and have to still learn all these things, you know. And when we look at the research from companies, because I've been doing this work for almost 30 years now, large companies will say they actually prefer a high school person to someone who came out of 4 years of college, because the college graduate think they know everything and don't want to start from the beginning. But the high school graduate will come in and work their way right all the way up to the CEO, right? Because they understand the steps that need to be taken. So it's the yin and the yang, you know. It's the effects of all of this, which is why when I hear free college tuition, if we gotta go and it's free, let's go. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's intentional, this sense of doom that we all are endowed with, you know? Well,
yes.
It's not worth it. I mustn't just even try, because then what will I do?
Right.
And that is part of the system that works against mobility, against us being mobile and making change that is impactful and positive for us.
Yeah, I agree. It was so good talking to you, Sonia.
Thank you.
So good talking to you. I so appreciate your being here with us and sharing the information. And I thank you for putting it up on the social media. So the Global Milk Box, she put it up there. They're looking for people to partner with them. You know, we go on the website, and if anything or information that you have to offer, please do that. And if you're seeking information, go do that too there. Seems to be a great organization to partner with. So thank you so much. It's such a good time talking to you. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, I love the young people. I've always loved the young people. Michael, pull that interview for me, please. That was a good one. I should have asked her how old she is. She's South African and American artist creating works. Oh, we got to look at the earrings to fund mobility and schooling. I didn't even get to talk to her about that. Oh, Andrea. I'm sorry, Sonia. If you want to call back in to talk a little bit about the jewelry that you sell to fund mobility and schooling, we'll talk about that too. So it's lots going on. The WURD listeners, you can call in now to talk to me. I'm going to be covering news, talking about the different things that are happening around the country and locally, and we'll move from there. Oh, she's 23. Oh my God, Sonia is 23. I love the young people. Thank you, Brianna. Oh, she is just amazeballs. I love it. 23 years old. See, young. I'm telling you, and the young shall lead them. Bless your heart, Brianna. I really appreciate you. Let me just see. What is this? Let me just go on over here. So much happening. So WURD listeners, if you want to call in and talk to me now, 215-634-8065. I'm going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Listen to Laborers Live.
We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
To people that might have forgot how important unionism is in a country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour workday, trying to work people more than 8 hours without overtime, trying to work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity.
Local 332, Sam Staten Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager, and Tony Staten, Executive Director of LESIT.
This Martin Luther King Jr. vignette is brought to you by Pico, Keystone Plus, Premium Nutrition Meals, and JD's Auto Body and Painting. The immortal words of Dr. King.
I accept the Nobel Prize for Peace at a moment when 22 million Negroes of the United States are engaged in a creative battle to end the long night of racial injustice. I accept this award on behalf of a civil rights movement which is moving with determination I'm mindful that only yesterday in Birmingham, Alabama, our children crying out for brotherhood were answered with fire hoses, snarling dogs, and even death. I am mindful that only yesterday in Philadelphia, Mississippi, young people seeking to secure the right to vote were brutalized and murdered. I am mindful that debilitating and grinding poverty afflicts my people and chains them to the lowest rung of the economic ladder. Therefore, I must ask why this prize is awarded to a movement which is beleaguered and committed to unrelenting struggle, to a movement which has not yet won the very peace and brotherhood which is the essence of the Nobel Prize.
This Martin Luther King Jr. vignette was brought to you by Pico, Powering Communities, Keystone Plus, Premium Nutrition Meals, and JD's Auto Body and Painting for all your auto body and detailing needs.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. I love the WURD listeners. I said call in 215-634-8065. Michael just started texting me. Such and such is on line 1. Such and such is on line 2. I love you all. I love you all. Let me start with Maurice from Southwest. How you doing, sir? Maurice?
Listen to you today. That you're spreading the word today. That you're
yes,
not staying on one subject like Donald Trump. You're actually giving us more than Donald Trump, you know? And it just kills me because you're the only one that's done it today.
Yeah.
Because I keep trying to remind people, we just had 2 of the greatest victories of all time. We got Donald Trump out, and we got the Senate, and we're not even celebrating it because we keep talking about the orange Cheeto.
Yes.
I would recommend anybody
why are you calling the man the orange Cheeto? Just call him by his name.
No, I'm not, because he don't deserve it.
Lord.
No, this is what I'm saying. It's been a lot. At one time, we thought Ronald Reagan was the worst. We were wrong. One time, we thought that George Bush the first was the worst. We was wrong. We
thought Richard Nixon was the worst.
Right, but nobody could top Trump. No. But you know, he's the only one. You got to give it to him. Didn't put us in a war. We got to remember that.
Hey, don't talk too fast now.
Nah,
you already know.
They're not going to allow them to do that. They're crazy, but they're not that crazy. But the thing I'm trying to say is, when are we going to have Stacey Abrams on? When are we going to have the 2 senators on?
Believe it or not, see, you all up in my business and don't even know the Kool-Aid. I just had a conversation with someone to get access to Stacey Abrams to me and Ayanna Pressley. So I'm working on that now.
But that's why I'm talking to you. Why you think I'm talking to you about it? Because I know you're the one that can make it happen.
Oh, yeah, I'm always working on it, man. You know, we're not playing.
This is all I want black people to do. Stop worrying about the past and worry about the future. We got a new white man going to be in charge and a black woman. We need to be putting our Christmas list out to them, not worrying about the past. We need to start thinking about our future instead of keep talking about our past. That's why we never get anything done. We need to start with having block captains on the block again so people can understand our concerns. We need to start from ground level 1 to get things back. I was talking to a police captain today who was on another show. He just happened to be talking about my district. I had to tell him how to police the neighborhood on the radio. He was shocked that I knew that where I live at in Southwest has the most murders in the city. And I told him what to do. I said, you lock down, you close all the delis down at 8 o'clock. Anybody walking around after 10, you check them. You got to clear the streets until the murder rate goes down. Now, when it goes down, you bring everything back up. But by you doing that, you're messing with their money. And they'll make them police themselves because they're like, look, man, you're bringing too much heat. They're going to put us under lockdown. We ain't going to be able to make no paper. So you guys, I don't care how you handle your situation, but nobody can die.
Right.
And that's how you stop violence. That's what we did in prison, and that can happen on the street. And it's the simplest way. But the biggest problem that's going to fail with that is that the areas that we have 12 zip codes in the city that where all the murders at. But the problem is those are all the gentrified areas, and you need crime to get the old people out for gentrification. And that's why the cop murders are not being solved.
All right. Well, thank you, my love. Always a pleasure talking to you. You always got something to tell Mother. I'll catch up with you soon, okay? All right. Bye-bye. Before I take the other three callers, let me get Sonia back on the line. Sonia was just on from Global Milk Box. Sonia, are you there?
Hello, yes, I am.
So, girl, you're 23 years old. Let me just tell you how proud I am of you. I was proud before I got off the line. I'm even prouder now. You are just amazing. I wanted you to quickly tell people about your jewelry that you sell to fund mobility and schooling. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I'm in a master's program in South Africa right now, in Cape Town. So it's super expensive to go back and forth, and I have always loved creating stuff, and that's my way of making that possible in a way that I can do on the move.
Oh, and so it's paper. Is it paper crane craft earrings?
Yes, it's paper crane craft, and almost all of my material is found and recycled material. Stuff like the old library cards from Temple University before they changed their whole library to a digital system. Their Dewey Decimal library cards. I use those to make my earrings, and found paper with patterns on it.
Oh wow! Tell people how to reach you for how to get those earrings.
It's papercranecraft.com.
So put that in the web page too, on the social media page too, please.
Absolutely.
All right. I just wanted you to come back on and talk a little bit about that so that folks can support you to go get back and forth to South Africa for the program that you're in. This is how young people are able to do what they need to do. And I love that you are enterprising. Instead of asking someone for a GoFundMe, you're creating a product that people can buy that will help you to get your way to and from South Africa for the program that you're in. I'm super proud of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, sweetie. Have a good one, okay?
Thank you. You as well.
All right. Bye-bye. Oh, love the young people. Love the young people. All right, so I got Maurice. All right, Jacob, are you there, darling?
How you doing, Sister Andrea? Peace be unto you.
Ooh, peace be unto you, sir. Peace be unto you. Between this hot head of hair that I have on and what's going on in the country and the hot flash, I don't know where to start.
But you gonna make it true, girl.
Yes, I don't have a choice, I don't have a choice. How you doing, sir?
Oh, look, I'm blessed. But you know what? I heard what the last caller said, but let me say this here. We'll have plenty of time in this country to lift up our sister from Georgia down there, right? But we can never forget what 45 tried to do last week. That was no small thing, okay?
Yes.
And he has to be impeached, or Pence already said he wasn't going to remove him. So you got to move forward with that stuff. That's the big stuff. This other little stuff, we can deal with that, right? This guy, let me imagine this, Andrea. If they would have got in there and killed Nancy Pelosi, which they intended to do, if they would have killed Mike Pence and most of the Democratic people in the House and Senate, then he would have called on the military to come out, and they would have probably the martial law thing, and our democracy would have been gone. All this freedom we talk about, our young brothers wouldn't even have had the freedom to kill themselves like they do every night in the neighborhood. And we gonna deal with that kind of stuff, but we gotta handle this big stuff, okay? Because that was no small thing. And yes, we should talk about him actually until he dies. Then we can bury it, or either they impeach him again, and we don't have to worry about him ever holding an official office in the United States of America. That's what we got
ever again, and he would lose any kind of pension he would have gotten from being president of the United States. But even more than that, I had Dr. Reverend Alan Waller on, and he said something that made sense. He said if they don't nullify him, all his followers behind him will continue to feel empowered and do what they're doing. So this is the way they're thinking of nullifying him. I quite frankly don't think he's quite done, And so we have to pay attention. You're right. We have to pay attention.
Oh, well, we gotta keep our. But look, and he ain't worried about no pension. He done stole enough money from them between the time that Joe Biden was elected and where we talking now to live for the rest of his life. That's how he milked the cow that he got calling his followers and everything. So, but nah, we got to keep our eye on the ball, okay?
And you know who else I'm looking at? Letitia James, boy, in New York City. No matter how much he pardons himself and his family, she is coming with the thunder. And one of the things I know for certain about black women in particular, the quieter we get, the more you need to worry. She is deadly quiet.
A woman scorned is something else. You don't want to. But anyway, the bottom line, and our black women, I'm telling you, I'm just so proud. Y'all always been there from the times of Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, and women like that. Y'all always been there. And us together, we can't be defeated. I mean, you know, once we unify, I'm never going to say that we shouldn't keep on unifying in our communities and our black communities and loving one another more and stop chewing one another's flesh like we do. Once we start doing that, now we can do that right away. But this other thing, no, we got to stay on that until this man is done. And he's in Texas now. Watch the stupid stuff. They question him getting on Air Force One to go to Texas because he don't have his Twitter toys no more and that kind of stuff. So he got to go speak to some people. Watch the stupid stuff this guy say. And we ain't got to worry about it because, but let me tell you something. The nuclear codes that he have right now is placebo, so we don't have to worry about that. But anyway, hey, look, you have a blessed day and keep on enlightening us so that we can do better. And especially, like you said, the young. I was 23 about 40-something years ago.
Listen. I'm right there behind you, so you know.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm blessed to be able to be a senior citizen. Our children are down here. The young people are taking their senior pictures at our school, and they're beautiful. And I say, y'all seniors, right? And then I tell them, I'm a senior too, a senior citizen. And we get a laugh out of that. But yeah, it's about the young, like you say, and you love the young. I can tell how when you interact with them, it just does something to you that when you're hot, it cool you off, and when you're cold, it'll warm you up.
Yep, they're wonderful. I love the young people, and I believe so wholeheartedly in what they're getting ready to do. We need them, and we need to encourage and inspire and be inspired by what they're doing because they're moving on a different wavelength than we have ever done, but it calls for that in this time that we're in. So we must not nullify them in any way, shape, or form, and we have to pay attention to what they're doing and how they're doing it.
That's
all right, Brother Jacob.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. All right, y'all, I have to take a quick break, and then I have to come back, and then I have to read this fascinating article that was just sent to me. Oh, Father God. Hold on, y'all. Those of you who are on the line, don't hang up. Mother will get right to you. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Happy New Year, Philly. It's sincerely Sarita. The 2020 pandemic blew the roof off of life as we know it and forced us to make radical decisions once thought impossible. Many parents and grandparents turned to the option of a public cyber education. In thousands of instances, they sought assistance from the one true pioneer and industry leader in public cyber education, Commonwealth Charter Academy. Visit ccaeducate.me and exercise your right to choose a safe, hassle-free, student-focused learning environment your kids deserve. CCA delivers elite online instruction streamed directly to the safety and comfort of your living room. They provide a laptop and headset along with internet connectivity that includes financial assistance, all at no cost to families. CCA has been the gold standard in school choice for nearly 20 years. Visit ccaeducate.me and ring in 2021 with a 5-star learning experience. Again, that's ccaeducate.me.
Want the latest in word swag?
Check out the shop tab on WURDradio.com. Hoodies, tees, and more in a variety of colors. The shop tab on WURDradio.com. Show the world that you're all about black.
Talk media.
This is WURD Radio.
96.1 FM.
And 900 AM WURD Philadelphia.
Black. Talk media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. So something was just sent to me. After Pence condemned the attack on the Capitol and lamented the death of a Capitol police officer, the Philadelphia police detective that has been reassigned to desk duty said, she called the vice president a traitor and a cabal and an operative. What, dear God? So I pulled up the thing. It says here that a growing number of Republicans, including Pennsylvania Senator Pat Toomey and former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, backed the growing calls for Trump to resign or be removed. And in Philadelphia, Mayor Jim Kenney says he will investigate any city employee who attended Trump's rally, it wasn't a rally, last week, and Mayor Jim Kenney vowed swift discipline of anyone implicated in criminal activity. So yeah, it's getting hot. It's getting hot in here. Really interesting, y'all. It's it's going to get more interesting as time goes on. Cause yeah. Bernard, are you there? How are you, sir? Yes.
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. What's going on?
Well, I'd like to talk about several things if I can. One is I just thought of it when you talked about the detect. You may want to invite Harold James on one day to talk about why and how the Guardian Civic League was created. And
Harold James is on my Facebook page. I must invite him. Okay.
Because Harold goes back to those days when the police, when black policemen were walking Woodland Avenue and couldn't get backup when they were called to take care of a crisis, and couldn't get the white officers to back them up. So I think he has an interesting story. But what I really called for was to see if, number one, you could put your email out, your email address out, so that we could invite you to a education Zoom meeting that we're having on Thursday with former Health Commissioner Estelle Richmond, who's going to be talking to us about trauma and its impact on schools, families, and communities. And,
Estelle Richmond, oh my gosh, she goes back a long way. I've known her for years, 4 years.
So she's part of our network that often comes in and does these kind of presentations. And so Estelle was also responsible during that time of Wilson Good, was also responsible for getting our health center, the city's health centers, federally qualified back in the time of when Dr. Lomax was in practice and getting ready to move towards creating his managed care company. And so she has a lot of history there. But the reason why I brought that up is because it seems to me that the federally funded health centers should be a place where people could go to for information, that could reach out into our communities and provide information on health disparities, not only including the virus that we're going through now, but the other disparities that make us susceptible to all kinds of disease and viruses. And so I wanted to say that. And the other thing I wanted to say was that we'd like to see, a group of us would like to see the Biden administration put some dollars back into the old Legal Service Corporation, and a corporation that was available to underfunded, underrepresented families in the area of civil law. Because a lot of what we're facing today, like the lady called up and said that her neighborhood was full of trash and people were dumping. Right. There was Legal Service Corporation that serviced the welfare rights organizations, that serviced housing organizations, that serviced environmental organizations to help them push back on those kind of challenges that we face every day. And so I wanted to put that out there. Hopefully someone from the old Legal Service Program would give a call and support that. And just the last thing I wanted to say was, and joining us on the Zoom meeting this week will be Lawrence Jones. I think you remember Lawrence Jones. They called.
I do. Yes.
So he'll be joining us this week on the Zoom conversation because we did have an opportunity to talk after his group called that day, and so he's going to join us on the Zoom conversation, and then hopefully the week after we'll have Mr. Jones on to talk about the challenges facing African American charter schools, and so that's why I called.
Okay, so let me give you my email address, and for all of you, it's A.L. Sanders, A as in apple, L as in lollipop, SANDERS at WURDradio.com. I've heard from some of you, and I've been able to help some. I've not been able to help all of you, but I've sent folks to resources that they've needed as they required them if I had access to them. If I didn't have access to the resources, I'd let them know otherwise. If I can, what time is the Zoom conversation on Thursday?
It's at 5 o'clock Thursday.
No, you know I get off the air at 4. Are you trying to kill me?
Well, I just wanted you to know the reason why it's 5 o'clock, because a lot of our parents don't get in until, after work. So we moved them from 12 o'clock to 5 o'clock, so more of them could be available.
That's
so
good.
if you can, we'd appreciate it.
Okay, I'll try to join. It usually takes me about an hour to decompress after getting off the air for 3 hours.
I do understand.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot for me. So I'll try to join, and at least I won't say anything. I'll just listen to what you all are doing, and so that I can report back. Okay.
Well, I'll close with this if you don't mind. One of the reasons that we're asking, I call her Secretary Richmond. She served in the Obama administration with HUD, and so. But one of the reasons I asked her to attend is because we have some problems. I have some problems with some of the responses of the health commissioner, the Philadelphia Health Commissioner, when he's on WURD. He was on your show once. And we have a lot of disparities in healthcare, not just in Philadelphia, across this country. But in Philadelphia certainly has a high infant mortality rate. Lead poisoning is coming back. So we got all these public health problems. And when he says he thinks, well, everything is okay, and they believe that the healthcare providers are sensitive to the needs of poor people, we take exception to that. And so we want to be about the business of providing information when we can to our groups of community organizations. Our primary work is in public housing in schools that a lot of public housing developments are located. And so we want to take advantage of the opportunity to see what we can do to get information out to people. So that's one of the reasons that we'd love for you, if at all possible, to
thank you, because he was on my show and I took exception to him too when he made that comment when I asked him, what are we doing about the disparate treatment of black and brown people? And his response to me was, well, the great majority of doctors are doing what they're supposed to do. It's only a few people. And I still get mad at myself for not saying anything to him in the moment, because the day after that we saw the black doctor that died from COVID because she was not listened to. And after all the experiences that I have had and everybody that I know have had around me, and after all the time that we have had conversations on this show, even Dr. Ayla Stanford, who is entrenched in all of this. What bugs me is what I like to coin the phrase, the tone deafness, the glibness with which we respond to black and brown folks when we say we're being treated horribly, and you say, well, I don't believe it could possibly be all those people. No, it is all those people. And it's to the point where and so Bernard, it is to the point where I got on the air last week and put out the 1-800 number, tell people how to report to the state when they're not being treated well by a physician or a nurse. It's everywhere. It's in every part of our country that this is happening. And so when we're putting people in those kinds of leadership positions, we want them to be sensitive to the needs of not just some, but all folks. And that is where I am with that. So thank you for addressing that. I fully appreciate. On behalf of
Thank you very much, and I appreciate your show.
All right. Thank you, sir. You have a good one, okay?
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Whew. All right. Let's see. Who do I have next? You all are texting me, calling me. I think you better call Tyrone. Call him. Hi, Tyrone. So hold on one second, Tyrone. Dolores Davis. Yes. I don't think he wanted to give out the Zoom ID publicly. So if you want to, I'm sure he's listening on the air. Bernard, go onto the Facebook page, the WURD TV Facebook page, and give them the Zoom ID, or tell them what email address they can email you to get that information. Okay. All right. Oh, wait a minute. So Kenneth Simmons says, do you have an African plan? Kenneth, I got one. He says, I am putting mine together. I have my 5-year-old visa to Ghana. I have my passport. I am in the process of acquiring land in Ghana. Hopefully then I will begin to build my house. Win the future. Go ahead, Kenneth. Tell folks, we get so caught up in being afraid and concerned about what's happening around us, we fail to think about the little steps we can take to have a better future for ourselves. All right, Tyrone, darling, what's going on?
Hello, Mother Earth. How are you?
I am fine. You see my new hair, Tyrone? You haven't been watching on television. Can't see it.
You know what? I haven't gotten mechanically or, technologically inclined.
Tyrone, I'm on here looking like Dora and Reed.
I gotta go to my grandbaby and ask her to hook me up, because,
yes.
she does everything. But, Mother, first of all, great day. wonderful cause. You know, I just love that brother Jacob, man. I just love to hear that brother speak, man. And then Maurice, you know, he hit it with, I think it was, with Solomon, with that.
Yes.
You know, again, hey, it's time to start talking about building. You know, we already tore down what needed to be tore down. Now it's time to build up. But, Mother, first of all, you are just such a wonderful, incredible individual. We just thank you for who you are. Just got to get that in. But I was so glad that somebody picked up what I've been saying. We got to use that as an educational tool for our young folks. And Solomon broke it down pretty good because he was saying that, you know, we need to get the elders to talk about the different things that they have went through. Because, again, I don't care what folks say. I don't care about slavery. I don't care about, you know, what happened in the motherland. What our children are going through today is just, you know, it is sinful. And they do not need to be going through what they're going through. But, Mother, as I always say, one of the things that you are doing, you are making it clear in terms of what they can do.
Right.
You're bringing in those young, beautiful, every time, Mother. I'm telling you, I'm still thinking about Brandon, that 13-year-old boy. I thought for sure he was 20-something. He was 13. So I can't wait till y'all hook up because I'm going to try to listen in and be in on every conversation.
Yes, I'm waiting to hear back from Brandon and his mentor, because I am. Yeah. The goal is to have them on all the time, at least once or twice a month, to talk about where they are in their process and how they can support each other and what we can do as elders to support them in turn. Right?
And that's why, Mother, I didn't want to take you off the spot when y'all was talking about what happened on Wednesday. But I just thought when you opened that door for them, I thought that was more important than anything that happened, you know, in the last 50 years.
I know. And let me be frank with you, Tyrone. I've had this conversation very openly, and some folks get offended when I say it, but WURD, in order for us to sustain this radio station, those of you who are 60, 70, 80 years old, you have been carrying us for the longest time. We now need to really acknowledge the younger generation, the 40s, the 50s, I ain't young, 50s ain't young, the 40s, the 30s, the 20s, you know, so they can listen to us and really gain what they need in a space where they may not hear it anywhere else. And so for me, on this radio show, it is really highlighting what education means, highlighting what the young people are doing so that folks like you and I can listen to them and they can listen to us, but they will not listen to us if we don't acknowledge the valuable role that they bring to all of this at the table and how much they have been suffering, you know, in this process. And they've been doing it silently until they couldn't take it anymore. And so let's work together.
Brother, can I end with this? The brother that was talking about, and thank God for the brother that just spoke before me, again, talking about solutions, talking about things that we can do. And I believe, once again, Sultan Ahmed has a winning formula for dealing with all the issues that we're being confronted with in this city with that human bond. So if we can get that human bond for that $650 million, and then we can get this new administration to match that, then we're on the road. We're on the road. We are talking about doing some massive changes and making some, you know, incredible advances to bring folks out of poverty, because that's what they keep talking about, want to lift folks out of poverty. That is a winning formula, and with this new administration and that human bond, we can do it. So, Mother,
wait, but hold on, Tyrone. Let's you and I discuss this. There are things that the new administration can do federally. But it really still comes back down to our local elections, our attorney general, our district attorney, our mayor, our governor. It still comes down to us locally here. Were you listening when I was talking to Anton Moore yesterday from South Philadelphia, the brother from? Okay.
Yes.
And Anton, who is doing amazing things, who has, he put together a 5-part docuseries. He makes sure that people's utility bills are paid. Spent so much time trying to get brothers off the street. He said 500 people got murdered in the city last year, but he was thinking about the ones that they were able to get off the street to stop the beefing and get them full-time jobs. So that he said, because that's all they want to do. They want to be able to work and support their families, right? I want to see more of Anton Moore. I want to see more of him. When I said to him, how are you able to, what are we going to do about getting more people like you? He said it's hard because you have to have a total love for people. And if you don't have a love for people and all you want to do is have your name in lights, then you'll give up after a couple of months. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes. And, Mother, believe me, we have a lot of Antons out here. But what we don't have is the resources. And that's why I said it's critical. If they can always come up with all of these bonds to fix this, fix that. What's wrong with a human bond to fix people? Right now,
so tell me what a human bond is, Tyrone. What is a human bond?
Okay, Sultan Ahmed had put together a proposal, and I don't know if it made it to City Council yet, but I know that it was en route to get to City Council. And what this bond does, it's a capital reinvestment bond. It's like you're going to put money, to put a bond up, just like we put a bond in to fix up the streets, to fix up the lights. We want to put a bond in to fix up people. And then
but is that a bond that's going to get traction in this city right now? Let's be realistic. Is that a bond that will get traction in this city?
Well, Mother, let me say this. I believe it can get traction because we did not hear about that $400 million bond that City Council has put up to do housing, and again, calling it, again, a lifting us out of poverty bond. I mean, that didn't happen until that. But the only difference that I see with Sultan Ahmed and what City Council is proposing, City Council is proposing, again, doing bricks and water. Sultan Ahmed is talking about addressing those
people,
issues
human beings
that impact us each and every day. And that's why I'm saying if we get that, and again, when you talk about federal government do have matching dollars. They can match, that bond. They do have the ability. The state do have that ability. But right now, we're still dealing with a Republican administration in this state that, again, anything that comes out of Philadelphia, they get trashed. So instead of going, we're going to have to eventually go to the state, but if it comes through the federal government, I don't believe the state would be able to trash it. That's my belief.
That's what.
So thank you, Mother. I love you.
I love you too. Give your wife my regards, sir.
She's right here.
Hello, lady. Yeah, good. Keep Tyrone in check for me, please. Make sure he's all right, okay?
All right, thank you. All right, and again, I'm asking all of my young folks, please sit down with your siblings, your little brothers and sisters, write stories. Tell them how to, talk about what they're going through. They need to let the world know what they are going through because there is nothing in the world like it. All right. Thank you, Mother, for allowing me to share.
Thank you, honey. Take it easy.
I love you.
Too. All right. Bye-bye.
Mother, I love you, Mother.
Love you too. Bye-bye. Oh, God, Michael. Tyrone always called me. He's always out in the street somewhere doing something and talking to 5 people before he, as he's talking to me. Hilarious. Nicole says someone needs to study the effects of bad news as psychological warfare. She's absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And so while we have to report the news, I always try to find things that are enlightening and uplifting for us as a people. I used to, when I first got on the air a year ago, would play music and be in the studios jamming, right? Now my schedule is so airtight because there's so much happening. I very rarely have time to play music anymore. And that's okay because I'm able to give you all what you need. So I don't have any more guests for the rest of this time. So if you want to call in and talk to me, please do 215-634-8065. I am going to read the morning report from the New York Times. And I have to tell you, I spoke to a friend of mine who works for J.P. Morgan Chase, and I smiled. What? This just in. I keep getting this breaking news. Detroit Associated Press, former Michigan Governor Rick Snyder, his health director, and other ex-officials have been told they're being charged after a new investigation of the Flint water scandal, finally, which devastated the majority of the black city with lead, contaminated water, and was blamed for a deadly outbreak of Legionnaire's disease in 2004-2015. The Associated Press has learned 2 people with knowledge of the planned prosecution told the Associated Press on Tuesday that the Attorney General's office has informed defense lawyers about indictments in Flint and told them to expect initial court appearances soon. They spoke to AP on condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to speak publicly. Breaking news. Former Michigan Governor Rick Snyder, his health director, and other ex-officials have been told they're being charged after a new investigation of the Flint water scandal. Remember that? When everybody thought it went away, 2014, 2015, and all those people were getting sick in Flint, Michigan. And we kept trying to talk about it. When Aretha Franklin died, she told one of her friends to make sure she held that governor's feet to the fire because the people are still struggling in Flint, Michigan. And of course, short brain span. We stopped talking about it. Well, now they're being charged. The former governor, praise the Lord. See, this is what I'm talking about. Now the laws are actually working. The former governor, Rick Snyder, his health director, and other ex-officials are being told that they're being charged after a new investigation of the Flint water scandal. And so here we go. That's what we're doing, right? We'll take a quick break, and then I'll come back and do the rest of the reporting of the news. I feel like I have like 1, 2, 3, 4 different producers because I get information from all over the place, and people know when I need to do certain things, and they'll send the information to me. I have to do my research, and then I can come on and talk to you about it. And so I'm excited for everybody that's been doing it quietly behind the scenes, and to Brianna, who just steps up and she books my guests in advance, and then I got my other little producers in the background who on the day of the show were like, breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. So I'm getting all of that stuff in there. Thank you all so much. Let me take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
What's up, everyone? I know you know the word. No, not the station, but this word. J-O-B, that is. And our friends at Amoroso's Baking Company are hiring right now. Amoroso's has been baking the delicious bread in our community for over 100 years, and they want you to join their team today. The old and the young love Amoroso's, and they are hiring right now. Check it out. They offer fair pay and provide health, dental, and prescription plans after 90 days employment. Call 856-754-0355 or visit amorososbaking.com for details.
Hey folks, WURD members are invited to tune in every second Tuesday of the month with me, Nick, for a chance to win a book bundle of the newest releases from Kensington Publishing's culturally oriented Dafina imprint.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. Before I start reading what I needed to from the New York Times, let me tell you this. As an avid reader, there are a list of books that I buy all the time. Now, I use Audible too, and sometimes when my eyes get tired, I will listen to Audible. But I like buying the books themselves because I can highlight them, you know, and for the different parts. So the book I'm reading now is called Dark Money. Dark Money, Darkmoney. I would advise all of you, if you really, truly, not playing games, if you really truly want to know why this country is the way it is, New York Times journalist and Nobel Prize winner, she's won so many awards for her investigative journalism, Mayor, and the stuff is riveting, right? So pay attention. Lots of these things are in books. If you don't want to read the book, get it on Audible. and listen to the book itself, because it tells you. I play it in Audible at night so that I can listen to it, when my eyes get tired. And my husband started listening, and he said, "Oh my Lord." So much going on. So I'm going to keep using Audible because he doesn't like to read as much as I do because his eyes get tired faster. But yeah, this is some good stuff, man. Stanley from North Philly, how are you?
All right, Andrea, how you doing today?
Whew, I feel a little bit better this week. How are you, sir?
Thank the Creator for another day on this planet. We're great today.
Yeah, what's going on?
Well, I was doing a follow-up on Tyrone and what he was sharing about Sultan Ahmed's social impact bond.
Yes,
And I'm hoping your producer reach out to him, because once he able to explain to you the concept behind the bond, the purpose of the bond, and what the benefit to those who need us most for social impact. I'll give you an example. They get ready to float a $400 million, what they're calling a housing bond. 80% of that money is going to go for brick and mortars. That's $320 million just for brick and mortar. When at this particular time, we need resources to help our brothers and sisters have some hope. And that's what the social impact bond that Sultan Ahmed is proposing would do. I listened to the show yesterday, and the brother from South Philly, he's correct. But we say you can't give these young brothers windsalts and air pudding. You have to bring some resources to help them come out of the situation.
Right.
And that's what the social impact bond that Tyrone was talking to you about would do. We keep putting money in brick and mortars and these things, but we're not putting money in the youth that need this money to help them get another path. I work with a lot of young brothers, Andrea, and it's difficult to tell them to come out of the streets if you don't have something for them to come out of the street with and for. And that's what the social impact bond is all about. It's about how we can bring resources.
So let me ask you this. How can I reach this brother?
Brother Sultan Ahmed, I'm going to try to reach him and have him give the station a call. He's very accessible.
All right. So can you have him email me, please?
Okay. If I could leave his number with your producer, I could do that, and that's a way to connect with him.
All right. So you can do that. Call the station and ask for Brianna Brown.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
And when you get off the phone here, leave it with Michael too. Leave it with Michael. I keep forgetting Michael is sitting in there. Lord have mercy. Leave it with Michael before you hang up the phone, and then Michael will give it to Brianna, and she'll reach out to him. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Have a good afternoon.
Okay,
hey, Gary Bryant. Yeah, bye-bye. Hey, Gary Bryant, I see you're finally on. Huh? How are you, sir? Good to see you all. Okay, let me keep moving. So much going on in these haunted streets. But I always say the evil we do to people, we never get away with it fully and completely, right? So New York Times, it says an unthinkable corporate response, something I want to talk to you all about. Large corporations and their lobbyists usually try to steer clear of messy political fights. Companies prefer to work behind the scenes, giving money to both political parties and quietly influencing tax policy, spending, and regulation. But President Trump's effort to overturn the result of the presidential election and the violent attack on Congress by his supporters has created a dilemma for many companies. A growing number have decided that they are, at least for now, not willing to support members of Congress who backed Trump's effort to change the election result and promoted lies about election fraud. Over the weekend, several large companies, now I want you to hear this, I'm going to tell you all about spending your money, Marriott, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Commerce Bank Shares, announced a suspension of donations to members of Congress who voted against election certification. Yesterday, the list expanded to Amazon, AT&T, Comcast, Airbnb, MasterCard, Verizon, and Dow, the chemical company. Hallmark has even asked for its money back from two of the senators who opposed certification, Josh Hawley and Roger Marshall. You know, the only company that didn't have to do this, didn't have to suspend donation because they decided in 1910 that they were never going to do it and has never done it since? IBM. IBM does not donate to political campaigns. They don't donate to senators. You know, they've just always stayed out of the fray. And so these large companies have been giving money, political money, and really pushing and swaying elections. Just a few days ago, this would have been unthinkable. Judge Legum, the author of the Popular Information newsletter, who has done the best recent reporting on corporate donations, told me. In the Senate, the temporary ban of donations will also affect Rick Scott of Florida, Ted Cruz of Texas, and a few other members. In the House, the group includes more than half of the Republican caucus, including its two top leaders, Kevin McCarthy and Steve Scalise. Kevin McCarthy, whose grandfather is very impactful in this book that I'm talking about, Dark Money. You should read this thing, man. It's something else. And he's they're coming after him with all things drawn. We have to create some level of cost, Thomas Glosser, a board member at the Morgan Stanley and Merck, told the Wall Street Journal. Money is the key way. The National Association of Manufacturers, long one of the more conservative business lobbying groups, has been particularly harsh. It called out Republicans who cheered on Trump during his disgusting, quote-unquote, effort to overturn the election, which it said had inflamed violent anger. The association added, this is sedition and should be treated as such. Still, many large companies have not announced a change, and other companies like Goldman Sachs and Google's parent have announced a pause on all political donations, a move that seems designed to prevent public criticism while not also angering politicians who supported attempted election fraud. McDonald's and the tobacco company Altria, which are among the top 20 donors to McCarthy, Kevin McCarthy, the House Republican leader, have not announced a halt on donations to any Congress members. Neither has Bank of America. So McDonald's and Altria and Bank of America, neither has Bank of America, a major donor to Scott, although it said it would review its decision making. So McDonald's is continuing to give money to McCarthy, the House Republican leader. And the well-connected law firm Squire Patton Boggs has also not announced any policy change. It has donated to Paul Gosar, a House member from Arizona, who helped to promote the January 6th rally that turned violent, tweeting, #Fight for Trump and the time is now. Hold the line. What's the bottom line? I asked Andrew Ross Sorkin, the Times columnist who has spent 2 decades covering corporate leaders, and he said that the announcement amounted to temporary defensive moves. The real question was whether 6 months from now the companies would go back to donating to the politicians who supported overturning a presidential election. Yes, Lord. Woody, are you there?
Wow, I'm telling you, that sounds like a politics. My father always said politics is a dirty business. He said dirty. That's what he said. So it's dirty business. I guess that's why Donald Trump was able to do so many things, because he was not a politician directly, but he knew how to do dirty business. So I think they met their match, and if we don't watch out, he could possibly be president again.
Not if they don't get the articles of impeachment out, which is happening tomorrow.
They do everything they're supposed to do, but it kind of sounds like too little, too late. These are things that probably should have been done a long, long time ago. Only thing I can remember, if I remember nothing else about him, is when right before he became that statement. And I'll never forget that. African Americans, what the hell you got to lose? Your schools are all messed up. You can't get money from your banks, and you're being gentrified out of your neighborhoods. I alone am the only one that can fix it. Well, he was telling you that, but he never was going to fix it. That was to get you to vote for him. Now, the deep part about that's a dirty thing to do, but it's still the same way. Millions and millions of inner-city kids are graduating with diplomas as receipts for educational services still not rendered. People can't read out there, sweetheart, and they need that 1 to 5th to 1 to 3rd grade education. It's got to get started. I do as much as I can here at the barbershop, but there's got to be another way, because it's happening all over the country. So if nothing else, when this guy leaves, that's what I'll remember about him, the promise that he made that he never kept. And I don't think any of the politicians are ever going to keep it, because it's meant seemingly that the children of the former chattel slaves are supposed to never be able to make it. And one way to keep you from making it, 400 years.
You'll hold the education away from you.
Hold that education. Right. 400 years of that. Now the spinoff is affecting you, and it's traumatized you in your blood and your genes. And that's why I deal with all these scientists and doctors, because all these are facts. Epigenetics is real.
Do you have a doctor for epigenetics that I can talk to?
The doctor is Dr. Avery August. He's out of Cornell University. He's a guy that I interviewed myself and wrote about him too. So I think that's something that could be hopefully help. But epigenetics, if you just look it up, and most people now have accepted the fact that anybody can be traumatized and it can pass down through centuries. You see, no matter if it's that kind of trauma. But dealing with that issue is one thing, but dealing with the other issue of total unfairness is to purposely, now this is something that happens on purpose. You don't have all these people undereducated for nothing. You got people out there, 70 million of them, that voted for Donald Trump that are white male supremacists. This is a real deal. This is nothing we should be playing with it. If we don't do anything else, those adults, children, as well as grandparents, should have a place to be able to get a 1 to 5th, a good 1 to 5th grade education, reading, writing, and arithmetic. That door should be open for the children of the former chattel slaves living in America today, all over this country. Shouldn't cost a dime.
I hear you.
Okay, so I just wanted to say that. I'm putting that in your ear because we're getting rid of this guy. He's leaving, but I don't think, hopefully he won't be able to come back. But if he does,
but whether it's him or not, Woody, there are plenty of people to take his place that believe exactly what he believes.
Well, that's true too, but that's my point. All of this is happening before us, but see, the way Christ walked the planet, and I always use Christ because he used peace as a weapon. See, throughout all this that you're going through, you still got to know how to use peace as a weapon. Dr. King made it clear, following the weapon of peace, and that's why I really appreciate you bringing your programming and everything that you do without even knowing you are using that weapon of peace, and I appreciate that, and that's what I honor about you so much and I love about you. So I want you to keep that up, and I'm not going to let Tyrone be the only one who tells you that he loves you.
And my husband keeps trying to tell me to tell you he ain't dying anytime soon.
Well, you tell him I salute him, and I'm going to look for him to be around for a long time, but that's not going to stop my love. Tell him I said that. All right?
All right, Woody. Take it easy, my brother.
Bye-bye.
All right, talk to you soon. All right, bye-bye. I love the WURD listeners. They just make my whole heart sing. So I'm going back to the New York Times piece. It says, a portion of the article of impeachment. House Democrats introduced an article of impeachment against Trump, charging him with inciting violence against the government of the United States. The article refers to the 14th Amendment, a post-Civil War addition to the Constitution that bars office holders who engaged in insurrection or rebellion. Today, the House is likely to pass a resolution imploring Vice President Mike Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment to remove Trump from office. If Pence does not act, Democrats say, they may impeach Trump tomorrow. That is Wednesday. So pay attention to what else is coming down the pike. The Justice Department and the FBI are pursuing at least 150 suspects, and the Capitol Police have opened up internal inquiries into about 10 to 15 officers. Woohoo! Chad Wolf resigned as the acting Secretary of Homeland Security, the agent that is in charge of security at the inauguration. Lord have mercy. Companies and institutions are shunning Trump, including Deutsche Bank, his primary lender for decades. Bill Belichick, the coach of the New England Patriots, said he would not accept the Presidential Medal of Freedom from Trump this week. Officials around the country are bracing for potential spillover from the assault of the Capitol. Videos show how rioters pulled 3 officers down a set of stairs while trying to breach the building. And the Times reconstructed the 2 hours during which a Trump rally gave way to a mob that nearly came face to face with Congress. And Lord, there's too much. Lots going on. In the meantime, Joe Biden is, he's aging by the minute, trying to become president of the United States and working with a pandemic that has just gotten completely out of control. He picked William Burns to run the CIA. Burns is a career State Department official who also led the U.S. delegation in talks with Iran, and he asked the congressional Democrats whether they could bifurcate their work, splitting days between impeachment and enacting his agenda. Lord, they're going to have a lot of work to do. The National Guard will deploy 15,000 troops to Washington for the inauguration next week. Several far-right groups have planned protests. Chicago reopened public schools classrooms for the first time since March for 6,000 pre-kindergarten and special education students. Biden received his second dose of Pfizer vaccine. We saw that on the news yesterday. 2 Democratic Congresswomen said they tested positive for the virus after hiding alongside lawmakers, some of whom refused masks during the Capitol attack. Oh, Lord, and now they're talking about gorillas in the San Diego Zoo tested positive. Lord Jesus. All right, so let me just give you this. U.S. greenhouse gas emissions plunged in 2020 because of the pandemic. Depending on how quickly people feel comfortable enough to drive and fly again, we'd expect emissions to rebound unless there are major policy changes, Kate Larson, a researcher, said. The State Department designated Cuba a state sponsor of terrorism. The move could make it harder for the Biden administration to warm up relations. Andrew Yang, who was planning to run for mayor of New York City, explained why he was upstate during the pandemic. Can you imagine, he says, trying to have 2 kids in virtual school in a 2-bedroom apartment and then trying to do work for yourself? He should have never done that. His opponents pounced. Plenty of people living in 1-bedroom apartments with 5 children trying to figure it out, sir. Again, tone deafness. Let's see. Gary from Southwest, how are you, sir?
Hey, how are you doing, Andrea?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I'm doing well. I guess frustrated with the state of things in this country and in this city. Earlier you were talking to Woody, we talk about education a lot and how the illiteracy rates and the lack of being able to read and do math and all that. That was all planned. I mean, we always keep blaming the victim. I call it victim blaming. When you don't provide the resources and educational opportunities, that's what's going to happen. And yet, even though all that's in place, we still excel. So I like to, just give us some credit.
That's right.
Give us some credit, because through all those negative odds and the structure that's set up for us to fail, so many of us have succeeded. And it should be a lot, and it should be a lot more of us. And that's why I have a real issue when we have elected officials that look like me, and they're not fighting to better that situation for our people. And we need to sincerely look at that and hold these individuals accountable. Those little photo ops and the little hamburgers and the cookout and the T-shirts, it don't get it.
Yeah, I think they're going to find out in this next election that it does not get it.
Hey, Andrea, I definitely pray so. I definitely pray so, because you know what? They're the problem. We already know about the other people. Donald Trump, I love him in the sense that he exposed all this now. If you didn't know before, now you know what kind of white male supremacist country you live in, okay, if you didn't know that before. The fact that man could be in the White House, even though they originally didn't want him to win, but they got in line behind him because he spoke their language. Yes, and he spoke it openly. Openly. And so for all these black elected officials that keep sitting back and you don't hear nothing, you hear silence, you should be ashamed of yourselves. You really should, because you're making a great living on my dime, our tax dollars. And, Andrea, I pray to God that we do change the faces and the names in these local, statewide, national politics. Thank you.
Yeah. I think the time is coming, Gary. I really do. And
overdue.
Oh yeah. We do. And what I find interesting, because I'm watching these folks who are in elected positions now, who we know have not done anything much for the folks, and when we try to talk to them, they become belligerent. They need to be planning, because there are plenty of folks planning, and they believe, the folks have awakened. Black folks around this country have awakened. This was not just about the presidential election. And quite frankly, a lot of these local elected officials work hard to keep the votes, people not to come out and vote. They don't encourage it. Right? And they don't talk about the election. So our goal is to make sure that we consistently talk about the upcoming elections, who's running for office, what can we do, and to not wait until 6 months before a primary to try and find someone to run against another person who may be running for office, right? We've got to stop accepting the status quo and really have a report card. The Black Women's Leadership Council does this quite a bit. They have a report card for elected officials, how long they've been in office, what have they accomplished while they're under their tenure, and folks got all mad about it. But quite frankly, we need to do this. We need to hold them accountable.
Well, Andrew, I just want to say this. When you just mentioned the Black Women's Leadership Council, I love those ladies, and I put you right in that same category. I love you, ladies, because you know what? You don't bite your tongue. You stand up. You speak the truth. And that's what we need. And we need more of our so-called male leaders to be doing that. But I want to give you ladies all the respect in the world. You remind me so much. My mother was a strong black woman, I tell you.
Yes.
And she would not allow me to be weak. And you ladies are doing a great job. And I just want to say God bless you, and your husband is a blessed man. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Gary. Thank you so much. I'll be sure to let him know. Have a good one. All right, bye-bye. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Need a new mattress? Stop by to see Julian, the Mattress Man, located at 7421 Stenton Avenue. You deal directly with the owner, Julian, to ensure the best prices on name brand mattresses like Sealy, Posturepedic. Call 215-424-5550. That's 215-424-5550.
onWURD 2020 in Black. Check out the latest edition of the onWURD podcast, where WURD President and CEO Sarah Lomax Reese takes a look back at the racial justice uprisings around the nation in 2020. onWURD 2020 in Black. Download today wherever you listen to podcasts or visit WURDradio.com. onWURD 2020 in Black was produced with support from Resolve Philly, which provides ground for journalistic initiatives that challenges our industry to be more equitable, collaborative, and based in community voices and solutions.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. Before I take my last caller, Greg, I just want to let you know this black sister, Quibi Vice Veteran Shauna Thomas, named CBS This Morning Executive Producer. Thomas will join the program, which is anchored by Gayle King, Anthony Mason, and Tony DeCoupil. On February 1st. CBS has named Shauna Thomas executive producer of CBS This Morning, its flagship morning news program. Thomas will join the program on February 1st. CBS This Morning has been without a permanent executive producer since October of last year, when Diana Miller stepped down after a year and a half in the role. Thomas joined CBS from Quibi, where she was a content development executive on its news team, working with news outlets like NBC News, the BBC, and yes, CBS News to develop short-form programming for the ill-fated streaming service. Before Quibi, Thomas was the Washington Bureau Chief of Vice News, and so she's completely qualified. It's great. Another sister getting an executive producer position in news media. We need more black folks up there at the top level so that they can start to hire people of color who can understand what our voices should be like, instead of just giving us any old trite news and slanted conversations, because we don't see things from the eyes of other people, only from what we know. Let me see. Greg, East Falls. How are you, Greg?
Yeah, how you doing there?
I'm good. What's going on?
Okay. I just want to say, first of all, 73 million people, like you said, it's just the beginning. Trump, like I said, Trump started it, but believe me, it's out there. This has begun. It's real serious. And something Solomon said this morning, but I had already begun to meet with my children this week to go over and to talk about this, because this is really serious. This is not business as usual. Everybody talk about go back to the normal. This is not business as usual. This is a major, major change that affects anybody that want to believe in this government. When you look at all levels of government have been compromised or exposed, even from the Secret Service, from the Capitol Police, whoever took part in this. And people talk about when you talk about there are no conspiracies, or because they call people who think about conspiracy theorists. Adria, slavery was conspiracy. They worked together to keep us that way. And I'm so tired of people saying they're appalled. And in 2021, we still got this. It never stopped.
It never stops. You're absolutely right.
It's over 400 years. So why are you so damn appalled? Stop with that, because it tells me you believe, hook, line, and sinker, in the narrative that somehow, we are a part of them. Yes, we built them. We built this country by free slavery. But that doesn't mean that they like you. They don't like us. And what we need to do, here's my last point. I'm beginning to look at, we talk about black-on-black crime, right, and all of the murders in our community. But the one thing that I'm seeing, not only in Philly, across the country, and remember, these police departments these police department law enforcement agencies are being infiltrated by these white supremacists. Why is it not? I'm beginning to believe that they're not solving these crimes, right? That in many respects, yes, we got people having issues and shooting each other and killing each other, but the way that these killings are happening and they can't solve them and they're not solving them, I wouldn't be surprised if there aren't random assassins coming to our community. Now, people think that's crazy.
So let me say this to you. It's what I have been hinting at for months. For months. I am looking at, folks talking about it's people being shot and killed in their doorway, and they don't know who did it. Poor person was in all black. All of a sudden, we can't solve any of these crimes, right? I don't believe they're all black people. I don't believe they're all black people doing this. I really do not, right? But until someone gets outed, until we actually see it in black and white, a couple of black men were found hung in a playground over in 2020. And when I reached out to the family, all the stories that they got, they were like, these men never had any issues, but all of a sudden, and then they get a call and there's all kinds. So we live in one big conspiracy is what I'm trying to say. And so what Solomon is talking about is something that many of us have spoken about to our children. I started having this conversation with my children just as Trump won the election. So they were prepared. My children were prepared when my father started telling us in October of 2019 about the coronavirus. By the time the country was locked down, we were prepared. All this other stuff. I called my sons in 2020 and I said, and they were like, Mommy, we just didn't tell you. But from all the conversations we've been having with you, we are ready. We know what we have to do. Right? And so the conversation that we're talking about having with our children now, while it is a good thing, it's a conversation we should have been having with them all along the way, because our children are the trauma is so real, right? And they're looking and they're going, well, what the hell is happening here? Why are we going through this? And so we have to consistently, as we as adults are going through it, we have to consistently line up our children in an age-appropriate way and say, this is what's going on. This is where I need you to be. This is what I need to have happen, right? And so that's where we are. That's where we are. So I'm glad that he's talking about it now, but I'm telling you, moving forward, because this is going to be years in the making, years of these things happening, years of, keeping your head on a swivel and trying to figure out what in the Sam Hill is going on. We have to keep talking to our children and make them understand the importance, not to be afraid, but to be aware, to be incredibly aware of what's going on and how to be prepared for what is coming down the pike, because we have not begun to see anything yet. Do you hear what I'm telling you?
Yes,
these folks have been ready, and they just got permission. They just got permission.
That's right. Right. Thank you. I just want to thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, my brother. You take it easy, okay? All right. Whew, Father God. Lord, I can't. It's just, it's too much. And again, I am at the end of another episode of The Source. Let me just see if I can. I already tell you about the FBI warning about the armed protesters in all 50 states. Pay attention, not just at the state capitol. Pay attention in your neighborhoods. Pay attention, okay? I talked about Quibi veteran. This one says, your employee participated in the Washington riots. Can you legally fire them? This was written by Andrew Zellman and Tyrone L. Clark for the Miami Herald. As the coverage of Wednesday's D.C. protests have dominated the news cycle, employers of private businesses may be wondering whether it is legal to take action against an employee who participates in such riots. On the question of whether an employer has the discretion to terminate an employee who participates in a protest, such as an event at the Capitol, the answer may be surprising to many. Inherent in the analysis is the dichotomy between an employer's discretion to manage its business and the constitutional protections afforded to individuals that do not necessarily extend to employees of private firms. And that's why if you're a city employee, if you work for the police department or the fire department, any part of the city and state, you cannot participate in these things because the city and state have the will to fire you. Private employers, depending on how they feel and think, will not do the same thing, right? So yeah, now what does the First Amendment protect? Among other things, the First Amendment protects the right to peacefully assemble, but such protections would not extend to illegal actions, including vandalism. Further, First Amendment protections protect individuals against government actions and likely would not extend to private employers. What does that mean for private employers? In short, an employee may be terminated for participating in protests despite such behavior being otherwise protected by the Constitution. The key consideration for whether the employer may lawfully exercise discretion in such a decision is the consistent application of a policy forbidding or restraining the employee from engaging in such conduct. For an example, if an employer only enforces a protest ban against employees of a certain race, religion, or other protected characteristics, to do so would be classified as discriminatory and therefore unlawful. For the employer, the first question is whether the employee is considered at will or if an employment agreement controls the terms and length of the relationship. In Florida and many states, in the absence of an agreement between the employer and the employee with a fixed term of employment, the default classification is at-will employment. That means the employee may be terminated for any reason and without warning. So now that you heard it here from me first, you know where we're going with all of this. I want to thank you all again for another episode of The Source. For those of you who have called in and lent your ears and your voices to all of this, we will continue to stay prepared. Like Solomon said, like Reverend Dr. Alan Wallace says, like the Black Women Leadership Council, like all the hosts are saying, make sure you stay prepared. Do not get frightened, but stay aware. Pay attention to everything that's going on around you. Ask questions. If something seems suspicious, do not go towards it. Move away from it. Plan and preparing your homes. Get your homes ready. Get your children ready. Get your family members ready. Do you know where your siblings are? Where your family, your parents are? Do you have phone numbers to contact people in case of an emergency? There's, in fact, this morning I said to my husband, I'm going to give Michael, the producer, my cell phone, his cell phone number, so that if something happens, for God forbid, with me, Michael can call him where he might be listening somewhere else and not hearing until it's too late. So, you know, like all those things, you got to put contingency plans in place and don't wait for disaster to strike. We may not have anything happen, but I'm telling you, based on what happened last Wednesday, more things are coming down the pike and we need to get ready for it. And it goes beyond toilet paper, wipes, and food. Common sense, paying attention, and making sure that your family members are safe all makes a difference. Coming up next is Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.